Chapter 816. After Tongning's press conference, Hai Rui released a PR statement to emphasize that Su Xian's suicide had nothing to do with Tongning. As for what the public thought, it had nothing to do with Tongning. So, as previously mentioned, Tongning's answer was both expected and unexpected at the same time. Tongning would rather give up her career for her innocence. This time, Tongning did not use her PR skills like she had done in the past. She did not admit defeat, nor did she bow down. Nor did she cry for the sake of her career like everyone thought she would. How should I put it? Tongning's reaction not only made the media look like clowns, it also made the people that were filled with righteous indignation look stupid. The best actress is trying her best to clarify that she had nothing to do with Su Xian's suicide. Tongning stressed that Su Xian's death doesn't matter. She just wants a clean career. Following that, people from all walks of life in the outside world also expressed their concern about this matter. What do you mean it has nothing to do with you? You're just relying on the fact that you can't find any evidence. Do you have any shame? He's already dead. Can't he just apologize and let the deceased rest in peace? No wonder she's a best actress. She's even putting in a lot of effort in her daily life. Since you don't want your career, you should persevere to the end. If you announce that you're going to film again, you'll be slapping yourself in the face. Yes, that was probably it. The public hated Tongning to the core. It was hard to tell if it was because they pitted Su Xian's experience or because Tongning didn't come up with a good story. It didn't take long before the police discovered that Su Xian had a history of mental illness. But Su Xian's management agency deliberately hid this information because they wanted to squeeze more out of Su Xian. At this time, Tongning had already returned to the set of Survivor to continue filming. Tongning, I've made you suffer so much. The director said guiltily in private. Perhaps I'm afraid of being destroyed, so I don't dare to step out and speak up for you. But I know even if I step out at this time, I would simply be adding another person to the mess. It wouldn't be enough to prove your innocence. If that's the case, I might as well focus on directing this film and wait for you to come back and continue filming. I believe that one day, you will tell everyone that their judgment today was wrong. This director was neither righteous nor evil. He was just a person from the secular world. He did not have the courage to stand out and speak up for Tongning, but at least he did not add insult to injury. Moreover, he managed to retain Survivor. From now on, director, please be more strict. Tongning was speechless. After all, with her current status, if it was a different director, they would never speak to her in such a submissive manner. Don't worry. It's the same as it was before. The director nodded readily. There wasn't much left to film, so Tongning spent every day immersed in filming. However, the insults from the public never stopped. In order to protect Tongning from the reporters, Ting made sure to keep her whereabouts a secret. By this time, the police had finished compiling Su Xian's medical information. Even if the public didn't want to believe anything, at least the release of this information would reduce their misunderstanding of Tongning. Soon, a follow-up announcement regarding Su Xian was published on the police's official website. As this wasn't within the scope of the law, the only thing the police could do was make Su Xian's agency suffer a moral complaint. After all, compared to them, Su Xian had already suffered a lot. After the police secretly investigated and collected all sorts of evidence, they finally obtained Su Xian's medical records. 3 years ago, Su Xian was diagnosed with mild depression. Afterwards, her condition worsened and she was diagnosed with anxiety 2 years ago. But she continued to work and did not receive proper treatment. The agency deliberately hid Su Xian's condition from the public and tried to destroy all of her medical records after she committed suicide. Right and wrong, God will decide. The truth will always be there. I hope everyone can keep their eyes open and don't hurt themselves and others because of their own assumptions. Afterwards, under the official statement, there was a heart-wrenching comment. Someone asked, at this point, do you still think that Tongning killed Su Xian? Afterwards, someone stepped out to confess that Su Xian had never been a decent person. Filming a drama and sleeping with someone, as long as they brought her benefits, she was willing to do anything. No wonder Tongning couldn't help but call the editor of Global Style to tell them not to use Su Xin. Even if Su Xin's agency has to bear a lot of responsibility, Tongning was still the fuse. This time, someone stepped out to argue. The person that said this must have never seen someone with anxiety. Even if no one provoked her, she could still die at any time. Perhaps Tongning really has nothing to do with this incident. Regardless of whether she has anything to do with it or not, Tongning no longer has anything to do with Beijing. Entertainment agencies have always been vampires. There's nothing to be surprised about. The police's announcement did not help Tongning win much forgiveness. But Tongning didn't need it. At this time, she was focused on filming the final part of Survivor, so she had no time to pay attention to the internet. Of course, because of this time, Lin Xian had already registered her agency and made all the necessary preparations. Long Jie was ready to go all out, so she followed Tongning's instructions and paid attention to their first artist. This artist's name was Luo Sheng. He was 19 years old, and he was a member of a small group called SMY. Because of his outstanding looks, he was ostracized by the group. Not only that, he was also frozen by the agency because he didn't want to be involved. Before this young man debuted, he had won many singing awards. Who would have thought, after officially entering the industry, he would end up like this? The entertainment industry had never been kind to the good. 2 months later, Survivor was finally completed. Although the film couldn't be screened, the director told Tongning as she left the set, "I bought the rights to the film, so it can be screened. However, it won't have a grand background. But don't worry, I will make those that look down on this film regret it." Tongning did not have any expectations. She simply felt that after completing such a well-developed character, she no longer had any regrets as an actress. But she still had more challenges ahead of her. The people that looked down on her and doubted her had a long future ahead of them. So, they shouldn't think that this would make her collapse. She would simply use another method to continue to be a strong presence and make these people vomit blood in disgust. Chapter 817. Superstar Media. This was a studio that belonged to Tongning, Long Jie, and Lin Xian. It was a studio that existed independently of Hai Rui. But Mo Ting and Tongning had agreed beforehand that Hai Rui and Tongning would sign a contract that allowed them to set up a studio. In return, Tongning had to agree that as long as they managed to produce an outstanding artist, she would have to send them over to Hai Rui. In other words, her role was to salvage. Apart from this, Hai Rui would not interfere with Superstar Media's operations, and Superstar Media had to prioritize Hai Rui's interests. Lastly, Hai Rui would only give Tongning 1 year. If Tongning didn't produce any results within a year, her previous contract with Hai Rui would automatically be voided. As for Tongning and the others' investments, they would only be considered a personal loss and couldn't ask Hai Rui for any compensation. This contract was extremely strict because Mo Ting had high expectations for Tongning. He believed in his woman. There was nothing she couldn't do. You need to prepare yourself. In the early stages of setting up your studio, it's highly likely that you won't be able to sign any artists, let alone obtain any resources. You can't use Hai Rui's name to carry out activities. Of course, I'm aware, Tongning replied. If I didn't prepare myself for this, I wouldn't have made such a request of you. After speaking, Tongning moved closer to Mo Ting and placed a sweet kiss on his neck. This was a tacit understanding between the two, and it was also Tongning's favorite way to get closer to Mo Ting. If Mo Ting gave her a lot of benefits, she would feel that it would lose its challenge. So, this was perfect. From the beginning, she wouldn't personally make an appearance at the studio. Instead, Lin Xian and Long Jie would handle everything for her. After all, surprises should always be left to the end, plus, from now on, she and Mo Ting would be able to fight side by side. Not only would she enjoy Mo Ting's protection, she would also be able to share his burdens. Most importantly, after she stepped behind the scenes, she would have more time to spend with Mo Ting and the two rascals. In that case, Mo Ting said before he pinched Tongning's chin and said in a deep and charming voice, "I'm going to focus on your performance. From now on, if you need anything from me, you will need to pay the price. For example? For example, Ting did not continue. He simply pointed to the bed in the distance. The two women understood each other's thoughts. Tongning also let out a laugh. Was President Mo using his black-bellied methods on her? Luo Sheng, the lead singer of a band, ended up staying at home and helping his father look after the shop. He lived a mediocre life until he was old enough to get married and start a family. Long Jie had done a thorough investigation on Luo Sheng's situation. At the moment, his contract with his previous agency was about to expire in 2 years. In other words, he wouldn't be able to do anything for the next 2 years. Worst of all, in order to prevent other agencies from poaching him, Luo Sheng's agency would definitely slander him after his contract expired. This was the usual trick of the management company. It was really a bit like a concubine fighting for favor in the harem. When Lin Qian and Long Jie found Luo Sheng, he was helping his mother buy groceries. The young man was down to earth and looked hardworking. Long Jie put on her sunglasses and handed her business card to Luo Sheng. If you want to make a comeback, contact me at 3 p.m. at the Concept Water Bar. Luo Sheng received the business card in confusion. Written on the card were 4 large words, Superstar Media. Below these 4 words was a line of golden English words. When translated, it meant, if you want to get rid of your former enemy, then you can do it. Luo Sheng had never heard of this agency before. Where did this scam come from? He wanted to throw the business card into the bin, but his mother stopped him. Xiaoxing, what are you doing? Mom, this is all a scam. How is it a scam? Mom's precious son is so talented. Shouldn't someone come knocking on his door? Let me tell you, I will go with you this afternoon. If they are scammers, I will beat them to death. Luo Sheng originally didn't want to respond, but he didn't want to see the disappointment in his mother's eyes. So, in the end, he nodded his head. 3 p.m., as expected, the couple arrived at the Concept Water Bar on time. But, to Luo Sheng's surprise, the place they chose to meet was right opposite his agency. Luo Sheng didn't like the idea. But, whenever he thought about how his team members ridiculed and attacked him, he subconsciously quickened his footsteps. Waiting for him was still Long Jie and Lin Qian. Just the two of them. Are you a scammer? Luo Sheng was impatient and did not have high hopes for an unknown agency. Long Jie removed her sunglasses, knocked on the table, and said to Luo Sheng, I am Long Man. You can call me Long Jie. I don't know you. You don't need to know me. Long Jie pulled out a check and placed it on the table. She then said to Luo Sheng, we will give you a chance right now. Go look for your agency across the street and cancel your contract. Here is your compensation. You can throw it in their face. Luo Sheng looked at the piece of paper on the table and froze. His heart began to race as he asked, what do you want? We just want to sign you, but I'm not going to tell you anything right now. So, you only have 2 choices. Give up and leave, or pick up the check, cancel your contract, and sign a contract with us. Luo Sheng furrowed his brows. He was clearly hesitant. It would be a lie to say that she did not hate her agency, but he had never heard of Superstar Media. Long Jie understood that he was hesitating, but she had no intention of saying anything to him. If this person did not have a strong will and belief, there was no point in signing him. Make your decision. Luo Sheng held onto his mother's hand as his hands were covered in a cold sweat. It was obvious that Mother Luo was a risk-taker. No matter how pitiful she would simply be tricked by the bastards across the street. So, she looked at Luo Sheng with determination. Luo Sheng was a little surprised. In the end, he picked up the check and led his mother over to the other side of the street with his head held high. Hey, Luo Sheng, I haven't seen you in a while. Luo Sheng, have you thought it through and decided to spend the night with me? Luo Sheng, what are you doing here? From the moment he joined the agency, Luo Sheng had to endure all sorts of ridicule and disdain. But so what? Luo Sheng, we've already started recording our 2nd album. Are you here to congratulate us? A member of SMY teased. Chapter 818. It's such a shame not to have you. Do you know how much I want you back in the group? That way, we would have someone to play with? Haha. Luo Sheng remained silent as usual, but he spoke with confidence. This time, he grabbed onto the man's shirt and roared, "Don't provoke me." Everyone was frightened by his aura, including the member that had just insulted him. Although there were still people that wanted to cause trouble for him, they were all scared away by his gaze. It was the kind of aura that said, "If you say one more word, I'm going to cut you up." "Oh, it's Luo Sheng. It's only been a few days since I last saw you, but you've changed a little." At this moment, SMY's manager finally appeared in front of everyone. As she looked at Luo Sheng's powerful appearance, she couldn't help but be captivated by his beauty. He was indeed good-looking, but unfortunately, this artist wasn't very obedient. "I'm here to cancel my contract," Luo Sheng said to his manager. "Terminate the contract?" Everyone laughed when they heard Luo Sheng say this. "Ha ha! Did I hear that right? Luo Sheng, you want to cancel your contract? Have you prepared the 30 million termination fee? Don't tell me that you're planning to rely on your muscles to cancel my contract." Everyone looked at Luo Sheng with disdain. Wasn't he just the son of a small businessman? Even if he worked as a street vendor for 10 lifetimes, he wouldn't be able to fork out $30 million. At this time, Luo Sheng looked down at everyone and pulled out a check. "I want to cancel my contract right now." As soon as the manager saw Luo Sheng pull out a check, her expression changed. "You've sided with a rich man, haven't you? I'd rather side with someone than sell myself to you," Luo Sheng yelled. $30 million. Do you want it? If you don't, I'm leaving." Luo Sheng had offended a big shot, so he was destined to be buried in the cold. She had already spent a lot of money to create him. If she could get some money back from Luo Sheng, she would be happy even in her dreams. So, how could she give up on this opportunity? "Okay, let's sign a contract right now." The manager wasn't willing to give up. She felt that the person that bought him out was an idiot. $30 million. Luo Sheng wasn't worth that much money. However, with this sum of money, she could train more outstanding artists, which was definitely better than holding onto a piece of trash. Half an hour later, Luo Sheng's manager signed a contract termination agreement with Luo Sheng. From now on, Luo Sheng was free. After he was done, Luo Sheng stood up to leave. But his manager stopped him. "I originally thought that with your stubbornness, you would never be able to make it big again. Who would have thought this is all you've got? Luo Sheng, you need to understand the consequences of leaving the agency. You need to be responsible for it. I will make you look at me in a new light." After speaking, Luo Sheng turned around and left the emotionless company. The company that he felt was extremely filthy. Roland's mother saw the entire process. At this moment, she even thought, no matter what Long Jie and the others wanted to do, as long as they helped her son vent his anger, they were good people. After that, the two of them returned to the opposite bar. Long Jie could tell that Luo Sheng's chest was heaving up and down. He was still in a state of excitement. "From now on, you no longer have anything to do with them. So, what you need to sign is a contract with us." Luo Sheng looked at Long Jie and wrote down his name without hesitation. "I'm lending you the $30 million. I don't care what you want me to do. I'm willing to do it." Long Jie looked at Luo Sheng and scanned him from head to toe. In the end, she simply said, "You said it yourself. What we need to do now is to change your image. Congratulations, you've been reborn." Afterwards, Long Jie dragged Luo Sheng to the office and gave him a makeover. "You don't need to lose any weight. You just need to maintain your original appearance. Wear more black clothing. We will prepare these for you later." Luo Sheng was completely dumbfounded. Even when Long Jie escorted him home, he still hadn't realized what had happened. "Report to the agency tomorrow. Remember to look at your contract carefully." After speaking, Long Jie returned home to take care of her daughter, while Lin Qian headed to Hyatt Regency. "Son, I told you to look at the contract, so just look at it," Mother Roland reminded. Luo Sheng wasn't in a rush because he didn't have much hope. But as soon as he returned home and saw the name, legal representative, Tongning on the contract, he was so surprised that he jumped out of bed in excitement. Was this Tongning, the wife of the CEO of Hairui, Emoting? Long man, Luo Sheng immediately went online to do some research and discovered that when Tongning was a model at Tianyi, her manager was called Long Man. Could it be? Luo Sheng held onto the contract and pinched himself. He realized his thighs were hurting. This wasn't a dream. This was reality. He had actually signed a contract with Tongning. But Tongning was previously involved in Su Xian's murder case and was being suppressed by the entire industry. How could she support him? That night, Luo Xing thought about a lot of things. But no matter what, he had already signed a contract. This was the perfect opportunity for him to prosper. But he had nothing at the moment. How was Tongning going to help him become famous? I'm guessing that Rascal must have discovered that you are a representative of Superstar Media. Long Jie laughed over the phone. It's really exciting. Tongning, I suddenly feel like I've returned to a few years ago. My body is filled with fighting spirit. Stop laughing. Luo Sheng is currently suspicious of us. We need to help him make a comeback. I'll listen to you. After hanging up the phone, Tongning hugged Guogua and snuggled into Mo Ting's embrace as she kissed Tang Tang on the forehead. Seeing this, Mo Ting couldn't help but ask for Tongning's opinion. Why don't we help the two rascals change their nicknames? I don't want them to hate their mother when they grow up. Candy, isn't that a good name? Tongning was a little confused. You don't have any manliness, Mo Ting laughed. Tongning lowered her head and thought for a moment. But everyone's already used to it. Plus, I can't think of a better name. It's not difficult. We could just call them Zichen and Zishi. After hearing this, Tongning nodded her head. Okay, since Mr. Mo thinks we should change it, let's call them by their real names. I'm counting on the two rascals to help me protect their mother from now on and not be a snot-nosed sissy that follows their mother around. Mo Ting's eyes were filled with love. Ever since he had the two rascals, Mo Ting's tough expression began to soften. But Tongning was well aware that this was only on the surface. He was a sleeping lion. Although he was asleep, he was still an invincible king. Chapter 819. The next day, as promised, Luo Sheng arrived at Superstar Media Studio. The studio was located in the middle of an expensive city. This was the exact location. Of course, Tongning wasn't around, so it was impossible for her to appear at a place like this. Even if she used her own name to open a studio like this. Luo Sheng looked around Superstar Media and discovered that it was no different from a normal management agency. It seemed Tongning was serious. Long Jie was currently in her office. She was mainly responsible for Luo Sheng's early stages. You don't look like you're used to it. Long Jie stood up from her chair, walked over to the sofa, and sat down opposite Luo Sheng. A little. You are now an artist of Superstar Media, so you need to open up your horizons. Did you really think that you're only worth $30 million? Long Jie asked. Since you've already signed with us, you need to follow Superstar Media's arrangements. Don't assume that your opponents will be the same as the members of SMY. Their horizons are destined to limit their reach. In that case, who are my opponents? Yourself. After speaking, Long Jie placed a script in front of Luo Sheng. Have a look at the script first. Luo Sheng looked at the unfamiliar script and furrowed his brows. I don't know how to act, let alone act as a pretty boy. Idol dramas can help you gain popularity in the shortest time possible. You don't need any acting skills either. All you need to do is act yourself. Luo Sheng, it seems you still don't understand your current situation. You have no choice but to listen to our arrangements, Long Jie said in seriousness. I know you like to sing, but tell me, your group has already debuted for so long. Apart from causing a bit of gossip and appearing on a few small stages, what achievements have they made? There are too many people that can sing these days. Whether it's a farmer or a sweeper, as long as they're packaged, they can also appear on stage. Even if you rely on your group, you might not be able to become famous. Do you think you can do it on your own? Do you want to compete on your own? Luo Sheng wasn't convinced, but in the end, he still took the script with him. As Tongning expected, Luo Sheng was going to reject the path that they had arranged for him. But after appearing in this idol drama, he was going to regret all his complaints. It wasn't easy for Long Jie to get her hands on this script. Luckily, she was well connected in the industry. So, it didn't take long before she established her own connections in the industry. Actually, this was because Tongning was willing to invest. This was necessary. They had no other choice. After Long Jie finished her confinement period, she quickly headed out to work, and Lu Che was also busy with work. Although the couple were a little tired, they trusted each other even more. As for their daughter, the couple found a reliable confinement nanny to take care of her. To prevent the confinement nanny from abusing her daughter, like the rumors online, Long Jie installed a surveillance camera at home. After observing the confinement nanny, they confirmed the confinement nanny was doing her best and treated the baby like her own child. Only then did Long Jie and Lu Che relax. Luo Sheng was indeed complaining about the path that Long Jie had arranged for him. After all, SMY was a singing group, yet he was now an actor. If he really became popular, perhaps the SMY group would already be at the level of a heavenly king. At home, Mother Luo noticed that her son was unhappy, so she asked Luo Sheng for the reason. Luo Sheng told his mother about Long Jie's arrangements and said with a confused tone, "Mom, I don't think I have much of a future. Are you stupid?" Mother Luo patted Luo Sheng on the head. "Don't you think President Long makes a lot of sense? You idiot, you've been playing music for so many years, and you've even formed a group for over a year now. But what have you gained? You still don't have much fame. But television is different. If you act in a television drama, Mom will be able to see you on television. Everyone in the country will be able to see you. That's already half the battle. When you were a singer, no one knew about the SMY group that Mom mentioned. But this is an idol drama. Your mom recently watched a Thai idol drama. Nowadays, which girl and Annies don't like to see a handsome man? There's one more thing that I think is important. The reason why President Long wants you to act instead of sing is because she doesn't want to attract the attention of your previous agency. That way, you will have one less obstacle. She's considerate of you, yet you're complaining. You don't know how to appreciate someone's kindness. It was only after hearing those words that Luo Sheng suddenly realized how short-sighted he had been. After a moment of silence, Luo Sheng said confidently to his mother, "I won't disappoint you." Luo Sheng was young, so there was nothing wrong with being an idol. Plus, he was handsome and fit the criteria of a young woman. If he acted in an idol drama, it was bound to attract a lot of attention. Plus, idol dramas weren't necessarily bad. There were plenty of idol dramas that became classics. Soon, Luo Sheng arrived on set with a script. He originally thought that the production crew would criticize him or pay too much attention to his appearance. But it all depended on what kind of person the director was. Director Lin, who was famous for filming idol dramas, was famous for being good to young actors. She was a very talented director, and she was a very thorough person. Luo Sheng, idol dramas are actually the starting point for newcomers, so you don't need to be overly nervous. I think the role that Long Man has chosen for you is perfect for you. The male lead and female lead were both newcomers. Although they had some experience in the industry, neither had the right to look down on the other. As a result, everyone was on equal footing and quickly got along well with each other. With the addition of Long Jie visiting the set from time to time and occasionally giving some benefits to the crew, Luo Sheng's life on set was no longer as scheming and calculating as before. However, there were still people who couldn't help but ask which agency he was from. He would smile shyly and reply, "Superstar Media." At this time, this name may not be known by others, but he believed that in the near future, this name would definitely resound throughout the entire entertainment industry. Idol dramas were usually short and only lasted around 20 episodes. As for The Devil Is Out, please be careful. They only lasted 18 episodes before finishing filming. But after this shoot, Luo Sheng's view of idol dramas had changed. After all, good plots weren't the only things that could be found in dramas. Young and inexperienced youth was also a perfect symphony. Soon, the drama was confirmed on a broadcast platform and a broadcast time, and it was time to check on the results. Chapter 820. After 3 months, Tongning's 2 rascals had already learned how to walk. But Tongning couldn't stand up straight with the 2 rascals by her side. Zichen was very naughty, while Zishi followed behind his brother. The 2 rascals chased each other as they crawled around on the floor. Tongning held her camera in one hand and snacks in the other. Her days were extremely relaxing. "I can tell that you're enjoying your current life," Long Jie sighed. "You don't film, you don't have any jobs, and you're far away from the public eye. Yet, you're able to cast a huge net in the entertainment industry. I like him a lot. How's Luo Sheng doing? Tongning asked as she checked her camera. The drama is about to air. From the looks of it, there shouldn't be any problems, Longjie replied. What I want isn't just from the looks of it. Tongning suddenly lifted her head and looked at Longjie. Sometimes, small tricks can achieve miraculous results. I'll listen to you, boss. Longjie admitted that she wasn't as smart as Tongning. So, she willingly listened to Tongning's orders. It's time for SMY to pay back what they owe Luo Sheng. When it's time to use a stepping stone, we should use it, Tongning hinted to Longjie. After hearing this, Longjie responded with an "oh," but she understood what Tongning was trying to say. But, to use SMY, there needed to be a certain level of skill. They couldn't slander the entire group and play the pity card for Luo Sheng. After all, the public were already tired of this old trick. As long as Luo Sheng didn't get threatened before and didn't seek revenge afterwards, he would appear to be a gentlemanly person. Because of this, Luo Sheng was so excited that he couldn't sleep for a few nights. After all, his drama was about to air. Plus, the platform was not bad. After all, it was an idol drama directed by a famous director. Even if it didn't become popular, it would at least be able to maintain its presence in front of the public. But this was merely his opinion. Tongning never sat in the middle. She was either last or first. But coincidentally, at this time, a certain agency's SMY was revealed to have a messy private life. One of their members had a one-night stand with a male higher-up. A one-night stand with a male higher-up. News like this wasn't anything new in the industry. But what was new was the male group and the male higher-up. A relationship between the same sex was bound to attract attention. As a result, SMY was destined to become famous in Beijing. But they were black and red, the very dark kind. Seeing this, Luo Sheng began to worry. He wondered if he would be implicated, so he immediately gave Longjie a phone call. It was obvious that the young man was afraid of being framed. Calm down and don't worry too much, Longjie comforted. The internet was filled with criticism towards the other three members of the group. Luo Sheng's name and photo had already been removed from the group, so he wasn't affected in the slightest. Luo Sheng broke out in a cold sweat after seeing his former group members being scolded so badly online. They were all young people, so there was no way they could take this kind of humiliation. It was also at this time that the photos of the four members were finally found. Many people questioned why Luo Sheng had disappeared from the group. After all, they weren't a famous group, so no one knew why they had split. At this time, there was a rumor going around in the circle. Because this boy refused to be involved in the unspoken rules, he was frozen. He was hidden for half a year, but I heard that a few months ago, he terminated his contract with this rubbish agency. Well done, young man. You have guts. This incident has been going on for so long, but the other party hasn't stepped out to add insult to injury. Young man, you have guts. Haven't you noticed that he's handsome? All of a sudden, the members of SMY were slandered like charcoal. But Luo Sheng was praised for having guts and not losing his composure. Most importantly, his appearance attracted a lot of attention from the outside world. What is Luo Sheng doing now? What a shame. Does anyone know what he has in his works? I can't find anything online. I'm so disappointed. I hope he escapes from this rubbish agency and finds a better one. At a time like this, a normal person would have wanted to announce that Luo Sheng had appeared in an idol drama. In fact, Luo Sheng even mentioned it to Longjie. But Longjie shook her head. Do you trust us? Luo Sheng remained silent for a moment before he finally nodded his head. After gaining Tongning's trust, Longjie explained, if you take the opportunity to advertise at a time like this, the public will think that you deliberately planned this incident to promote your drama. If that happens, everything we've done before will go down the drain. Since we're going to distance ourselves from SMY, we need to do it cleanly. Do you understand? Luo Sheng nodded his head. I'm just worried that the popularity will die down. Longjie shook her head. Before this incident is suppressed, the public will continue to search for news about you. But as soon as your drama is released, people will naturally assume that you're related to it. The more you act like you're not fighting for anything, the more people will pay attention to you. But If you keep a low profile, it will be easier for the public to have expectations of you. Plus, if you announce it now, it will be the same as telling your agency that you're making a comeback. Won't they take advantage of this opportunity to throw all the blame on you? Your value isn't to fight with them. Do you understand? After hearing Long Jie's words, Luo Sheng was completely convinced. From now on, I won't ask any more questions. I trust in your arrangements. There's no point in you trusting me. You need to trust the person behind me. Long Jie winked at Luo Sheng. Luo Sheng understood that Long Jie was referring to Tongning, so he smiled and nodded his head. Little brother Luo is finally smiling. It hasn't been easy, Long Jie teased. As Long Jie predicted, a few days passed by, but the public were still searching for news about him. But he deliberately remained mysterious and kept a low profile, waiting for the moment his drama was released. Most importantly, he wanted to deal a fatal blow to the members of SMY. The entertainment industry was deep, but after spending some time with them, Luo Sheng realized that Long Jie wasn't scary. The truly scary person was the woman that he signed a contract with, Tongning. At this time, the members of SMY were forced to stop all activities due to the unspoken rules incident. Of course, they also realized that out of the 4 members, only Luo Sheng received a round of applause. Luckily, Luo Sheng is no longer in the entertainment industry. Otherwise, he would be stepping all over us. Him? We were at least famous for a few days. But him? He won't even be famous for half a day. Chapter 8:21. Even SMY's management agency felt that Luo Sheng was stupid for not taking the opportunity to find a new boss. If he really had the brains with his looks, he would have been famous a long time ago. He wouldn't have ended up helping his father sell vegetables at home. It's a good thing he isn't famous. Otherwise, this mess would be difficult to clean up. I've already been careful. How did I end up with these scandals? Luo Sheng's manager complained to the agency's manager. You're at the lowest level of the entertainment industry. Do you think you can keep secrets? Everyone was thankful that Luo Sheng was still obediently doing his job as a farmer and had not gotten involved in the scandal. After all, an artist like him, who had no background and didn't care about using unspoken rules, deserved to have no way out. The members of SMY weren't happy that Luo Sheng was the only one receiving praise from the public. So, they hired thugs to cause trouble at Luo Sheng's family shop. Tell your son to hide well and not let us see him. Otherwise, we will beat him up every time we see him. Luo Sheng's parents were quite frightened when a few strong men arrived at the store and started smashing things up. Afterwards, Luo Sheng's mother swallowed the threat because she was afraid that it would affect Luo Sheng's future. As a result, Luo Sheng had no idea what was going on. But Long Jie, who was well informed, knew exactly what was going on. So, she decided to remember this grudge on Luo Sheng's behalf. Soon, a drama with Luo Sheng as the supporting male lead officially aired during prime time on a famous television station. Although the actors were all new faces, they were all handsome and beautiful. On top of that, they were all demons, cold, and geniuses. So, although their performances weren't outstanding, they were stable. So, after just 2 episodes, the public was already shocked. Have you guys watched the latest idol drama? My girly heart is about to overflow. WTF, they're so good looking. Even through the television screen, I can feel their collagen. I feel like I'm back in my youth. It's only been 2 episodes. After watching it, I feel like it's okay and not disgusting. How rare. Catch up. There's a drama to catch up with. As it had only been 2 episodes, the second male lead barely had a chance to show his face. But as soon as Luo Sheng's cold and arrogant student appeared on the scene, the female fans immediately screamed in excitement. Dressed in a clean white shirt and polished white sneakers, Luo Sheng walked past his classmates. Even though he was only inches away from them, the sense of alienation emanated from his bones. This boy is quite clean. Why does he look so familiar? I paid attention to the cast list. He's Luo Sheng. Luo Sheng, I want to give birth to a monkey for you." As expected, the people that had previously tried their best to unearth Luo Sheng were so excited after watching the drama that they couldn't control themselves. Especially those young ladies. With Luo Sheng's handsome face, how could they not have pink bubbles? It didn't take long before the ratings for The Devil's Come and Go began to skyrocket. From the third night onwards, the ratings continued to rise. In an instant, the first thing that young ladies did after returning home, apart from doing their homework, was watch an idol drama. Even the helpless parents couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the boy that their daughters were interested in. "This child is so clean." They originally wanted to turn off the television, but now they had no choice but to let their daughters do as they pleased. After all, who hadn't been attracted to a few handsome men when they were young? At this time, Luo Sheng's former management agency finally received news that Luo Sheng had appeared in a drama. Seeing Luo Sheng's fans increasing at a shocking rate, Luo Sheng's ex-manager was so angry that his neck twisted. "I thought Luo Sheng had left the industry. Turns out he went to film behind our backs. Now his drama has only aired a few episodes, and he's already showing signs of becoming famous. How shameless." When the members of SMY saw the news and the newspapers, they were also shocked. Luo Sheng sure played his cards well. He abandoned us because he wanted to act. Mi Jie, we can't let him continue like this. Otherwise, what would we become? That's right, Mi Jie. We're all from the same group. He can't step on our shoulders and become famous. Don't worry, no matter what methods I use, I will definitely contact his current agency. I want to learn from him and see which manager managed to get someone like Luo Sheng to make a comeback. But no matter how they denied it, Luo Sheng's popularity had already become an indisputable fact. The three of them were notorious, while Luo Sheng suddenly had a bright future in the industry, like he had been given a new lease on life. A lot of people used to ask him to have a threesome with them. I wonder if they'll still be obsessed with him if this gets out. I heard he likes to drink. Idiots. Seeing that the three of them were not making any progress, the manager slammed her hands on the table and yelled, "If you go and talk bad about Luo Sheng, others will think that you're simply creating rumors and slandering him. Most importantly, the public will think that you're trying to ride on Luo Sheng's popularity. How far do you want to go?" The three of them shrunk back and did not say a word. "I will handle this matter. You don't need to worry about it." The manager glared at the three of them. But they had no idea that Luo Sheng's popularity wasn't a coincidence or luck. It was all because of Tong Ning's judgment, Long Jie's execution, and Lin Qian's various activities. Coupled with the fact that Luo Sheng was crazy about his looks, Luo Sheng didn't seem prepared for the attention that he was about to receive. Seeing a rare smile appear on Luo Sheng's face, Long Jie finally warned him, "You will gradually become famous, which means your previous agency will come looking for you. They may slander you, suck up to you, and use all sorts of tricks against you. Don't worry, Long Jie. I'll listen to your arrangements. There's something I haven't told you yet." Long Jie thought about it for a while before she finally told him about Luo Sheng's parents. "I'm going to tell you this because I want to know if you'll act rashly. I want to know if you'll trust us to avenge you, or if you'll do it yourself and destroy the life that you've painstakingly regained." After hearing this, Luo Sheng clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. Now isn't the time. Hearing this, Luo Sheng took a deep breath and calmed himself down. "Don't worry, I won't act recklessly." "That's good. Did you know? Your drama is only halfway through airing and advertisers are already knocking on your door. Plus, there's a new idol drama on the way. Your career has only just begun. As for those bad actors, they will only get more jealous. You just need to focus on performing well. As for the dogs, let us deal with them." Chapter 822. To prevent anyone from causing trouble, Long Jie specifically hired 2 bodyguards for Luo Sheng's parents. On the surface, the 2 bodyguards looked like they were working in the store, but in reality, they could easily cripple anyone that came looking for trouble with a single hand. The 3 members of SMY were naturally not willing to be left behind. especially since they were the ones that bullied Luo Sheng in the past. Since when did Luo Sheng ever step all over them? So, the three once again hired bodyguards to cause trouble for Luo Sheng's parents. Unfortunately, as soon as they stepped through the door, Long Jie's bodyguards immediately threw them out. They then found a deserted alley and gave them a good beating. You guys, if you can beat up those three little bastards, I'll pay you 3 times the price. How about it? After beating them up, the 2 bodyguards lured the people who came looking for trouble. I can pay a deposit first. The 3 people were beaten up badly. But as soon as they heard that they could pay them 3 times the price, they immediately covered their mouths and asked, "Really?" Of course. The rascals were still waiting for the bodyguards to give them good news. Who would have thought, as soon as they met, they would be beaten up? Although the bodyguards weren't professional bodyguards, they were used to seeing fights. So, how could the rascals possibly win? But the bodyguards were seriously injured. Even though they were sent to the hospital, they did not dare to call the police, nor did they dare to say a word. After all, if word got out, they would eventually find out that they had hired bodyguards to cause trouble for Luo Sheng's parents. As a result, they were even more screwed. I never thought that Luo Sheng would become so ruthless. He's now famous and has the money to hire bodyguards. Fuck, he's good. I'm gonna kill him. You? Don't let me find out which agency picked up a dog like him. Not only the members of SMY, but even their agencies were looking for information on Luo Sheng's current agency. Superstar Media. They knew the name of the agency, but where did it come from? They had never heard of it before. Since it's an unknown agency, then it's easy. How dare they try to steal someone from us? I'm going to teach them a lesson. Mi Jie said angrily. I'm going to take this opportunity to get Luo Sheng's contract back. In a short period of time, Luo Sheng had achieved great results. So, late at night, Ting couldn't help but open a bottle of champagne to celebrate. You've already won the initial victory, and you're doing it well. Mr. Imo, are you saying that Hai Rue and I are worlds apart? Don't worry, I won't let you down. Plus, I noticed you put on a little weight recently. Is that so? It's all thanks to Madam's good food and drinks every day. As Tongning spent more time at home, she spent half of her time studying recipes, even though her culinary skills weren't bad in the past. But now, the staff at Hai Rue could see President Mo carrying a bento box to and from work every day. They were so jealous that they drooled. Everyone thought that after the incident with Su Xin, Tongning would stay at home to take care of her husband and children. If you get any fatter, I won't want you anymore. After hearing this, Ting placed Tongning on the dining table and pinched her chin. If you have the guts, say it again. Tongning smiled as she hooked her arms around Ting's neck and admitted her mistake. Why don't you punish me? That's exactly what I was thinking. After speaking, Ting unbuttoned his shirt. He wanted Tongning to see if he had gained weight or if he was still as fierce and strong as ever. Later that night, Long Jie spoke to Tongning on the phone. The manager called me. Jie has been asking around about Superstar Media. I'm sure she will come knocking on our door soon. That's perfect, Tongning replied as she helped Zichen undress. It would be best if she could pick an occasion where Luo Sheng is present. In order to win a person's loyalty, one had to give them what they wanted the most. The manager had bullied him for a long time, so his heart burned with hatred. This was an unstable factor for Long Jie and Tongning. I understand. I will show off my skills in front of Luo Sheng and teach me Jie how to be a good manager, Long Jie laughed. That's all for now. Good night. In order for the manager to find her, Long Jie deliberately revealed Superstar Media's address to the industry. She even gave Luo Sheng a phone call before going to bed. Come to the office tomorrow morning to talk about the endorsement. Everything was perfect. Lu Che couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Why are you calling your artist so late at night? Long Jie understood what Lu Che was thinking, so she smiled and looked at him. Are you jealous? Not really. It's just, you can come earlier from now on. If you're jealous, then say so. Okay, a little, Lu Che had to admit. Lu Che couldn't help but admit. After all, the artist you've invested in is quite outstanding, isn't he? I'm already a mother. What are you thinking? Long Jie poked Lu Che in the chest. Plus, in my eyes, You will always be the unromantic blockhead that I used to love. No matter what happens in the future, I will only love you. Luce knew that Long Jie wasn't that kind of person. She simply couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Plus, I will always know that in front of you, I'm just showing off in front of an expert. So, even though the president told me not to help the madam, he never said that I couldn't help you. Haha, you're my good hubby. Long Jie didn't care about her pride. What if one day, she actually needed to use Luce, picking a fight and slapping the face? Long Jie loved it when people came knocking on her door, especially when they overestimated themselves. So, she headed to the office early in the morning to prevent the other party from making a wasted trip. So, she arrived at the office at 8 a.m. Was she sincere enough? A little while later, Luo Sheng also arrived at the office. Seeing Long Jie humming a tune, he couldn't help but laugh. Did something good happen today? Why are you so happy? Nothing. Long Jie pulled out a few commercial proposals and placed them in front of Luo Sheng. Although you have the resources for the commercial, you can't just shoot everything. You need to choose something that suits your niche. Take a look at these. Luo Sheng looked at the commercial proposals in front of him. They were either shampoo or soft drinks, and the tagline was so tacky. Can I reject all of them? Why? Long Jie revealed a meaningful smile. However, before Luo Sheng could respond, his secretary suddenly knocked on the door. Long Jie, the person you've been waiting for has arrived. Chapter 8:23. After hearing her secretary's words, Long Jie raised an eyebrow and turned to Luo Sheng. There's going to be a good show. Do you want to watch? Luo Sheng looked at Long Jie questioningly. But after a few seconds of silence, he nodded his head. Uh-huh. In that case, promise me you won't make a sound, Long Jie instructed. Although Luo Sheng didn't understand, he did not ask any further. From what he knew, Long Jie wouldn't hurt him no matter what she did. Soon, the two women arrived at the reception room. Before Long Jie entered, she turned around and said to Luo Sheng, "Wait outside. You don't need to come in." Luo Sheng nodded his head and leaned against the door. Inside the reception room, Mi Jie didn't come alone. She had brought along a senior lawyer. As soon as the two women saw Long Jie, they stood up and stretched out their hands. "Hello." Long Jie glanced at the two women and sat down at the head of the table. "Mi Jie, let's get straight to the point." Mi Jie was a little surprised. She never expected that Long Jie would know her name. You are Luo Sheng's ex-manager, so it's not surprising that I know you. Tell me, why are you here today? Mi Jie adjusted her glasses and gestured for the lawyer to bring out some documents and place them in front of Long Jie. "I'm here today to talk to you about Luo Sheng's matter. Although Luo Sheng paid his contract termination fee 3 months ago, he still owes you a sum of money. So, we're here today to ask if Superstar Media is going to pay him back or if Luo Sheng is going to do it himself." After hearing this, Luo Sheng placed his hands on the door. Just as he was about to push it open, he heard Long Jie say, "Don't make a sound." So, he once again held back. "Oh, debt? Let me see." Long Jie received the documents from the lawyer's hands and flipped through a few pages. She then asked with a smile, "Why didn't you pay him 3 months ago? Now that Luo Sheng has become famous, you're here to collect your debt." "Mi Jie, you shouldn't have a bottom line." "This has nothing to do with bottom line. It's only natural for someone to pay back their debt," Mi Jie emphasized. "Actually, I don't want anything else. I simply want Luo Sheng to return to our agency. All I need is half a year, and the money he earns will be used to pay off his debt." "Aren't you shameless?" Long Jie asked. "We are discussing something. I'm also discussing something with you. Previously, when Luo Sheng wasn't popular, you guys looked down on him. Now that he's made a comeback, do you still want him back? Since you don't agree, then Superstar Media is fine with paying. Sure, I'll burn more for you during the Qingming Festival next year." Long Jie slammed the coffee table in front of her. "Why don't you take a look at yourself first? How dare you try to play tricks in front of me? Do you believe that I won't reveal to the public that you have 3 gigolos? When I was your manager, you were still playing with mud. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? As soon as Mi Jie heard that Long Jie found out that she had 3 artists under her care, her face turned pale. You? What nonsense are you talking about? I can talk nonsense, but the evidence won't. Not to mention you. Even your boss has a mistress in his villa, right? She even gave birth to 2 children. As long as I announce it, do you think your company will still have a chance? Don't be so shameless. Long Jie pulled out a photo from her drawer and showed it to Mi Jie. Did you investigate me? Mi Jie's fear turned into guilt and anger. Is there a need for me to personally investigate your lousy company? Long Jie humphed. Don't think too highly of yourself. Let me tell you right now, your appearance at Superstar Media was a mistake. I can make sure you no longer have a place in the industry. Think carefully. Do you still want Luo Sheng to repay his debt? Mi Jie swallowed hard. She knew she had hit a nail on the head. So, she put away the contract and prepared to leave. However, Long Jie stopped her. Wait. Mi Jie did not move, nor did she say a word. You've settled your debt, but I haven't started yet. Don't be in such a rush to leave. Mi Jie trembled, but she had no choice but to turn around and sit back down. To prevent you from acting like a mad dog and biting people again, I prepared a contract. Sign it and Luo Sheng will no longer have anything to do with you. If your agency continues to spend money on Luo Sheng, we will see each other in court. After speaking, Long Jie pulled out the contract from her drawer and threw it at Mi Jie. Secondly, regarding Luo Sheng's debt, you and I both know how it came about. From now on, if I hear any rumors about Luo Sheng's debt, I don't care who's at fault. I will blame it all on you and your agency. When that happens, you will have to bear the consequences. Thirdly, don't talk about gratitude or love. Luo Sheng hasn't received a single benefit from your agency. Don't go around saying that Luo Sheng is stepping on your shoulders and eating your blood. He was created by Superstar Media, so don't think too highly of yourself. Lastly, and most importantly, from today onwards, don't appear in front of me or Luo Sheng. After signing this contract, get lost. Mi Jie never expected that Tongning had been waiting for her to show up, so she had already prepared everything. The funny thing was, she thought she could get some benefits today. It seemed it was impossible to rely on Luo Sheng from now on. How hateful! Mi Jie had no choice but to sign the contract and leave. However, just as she was about to leave, she noticed Luo Sheng standing outside. Luo Sheng, however, Luo Sheng pretended not to see Mi Jie as he walked over to Long Jie and said, "Let's continue talking about the commercial. I still haven't explained why I made the choice I did." Okay, let's go back to my office first. Mi Jie took a deep breath as a phrase flashed through her mind. Life really was full of ups and downs. But Long Jie didn't think this way. It was obvious that if she ignored him today, he would be too high for her to reach in the future. As she watched Mi Jie leave with her tail between her legs, Long Jie felt extremely satisfied. It was so satisfying. Thank you, Long Jie. Luo Sheng's words of gratitude came from the bottom of his heart. He knew that with Long Jie's threat, Mi Jie wouldn't dare to act recklessly anymore, and he would no longer be implicated by that rubbish agency. We don't want anything from you. We simply hope that when you become famous one day, don't forget who helped you get to where you are now. Luo Sheng nodded his head. Now, tell me, why didn't you choose one of these commercials? It was such a good opportunity. I don't think the agency's position in my career is suitable for a naive and sweet person like me. Long Jin nodded her head and patted him on the shoulder. Luo Sheng, you need to remember that artists need to walk their own path in order to be remembered by others. An internet celebrity? Can you stay popular for more than 3 years? That's why it's important to walk the path of success. Work isn't about quantity, it's about ingenuity. Chapter 824. What about that person? Isn't she planning to make a comeback? Long Jie seemed to know who Luo Sheng was referring to as she smiled mysteriously. Does she need you to worry about her? She was able to bring you back from the dead. Did you think she'd be trapped by a mere rumor? When she wants to come back to life, she will naturally be able to. After hearing Long Jie's words, Luo Sheng's respect for Tongning grew even stronger. Just how much talent did Tongning have? Perhaps, even Mo Ting wouldn't be able to answer this question. Let's not talk about this for now. But there was one thing that was for sure. Luo Sheng's current achievements were far from Tangning's standards. Long Jie, help me arrange some work. No matter how hard or tiring it is, I can handle it. We don't need you to handle anything. We simply hope that you don't complain about the work we arrange for you. After speaking, Long Jie told Luo Sheng straightforwardly, whether you want to be an actor or a singer in the future, you need to know everything. Don't think that just because you're a lead singer, you can just act half-heartedly. Which artist doesn't want to develop their career in all aspects? So, the first thing Tanning wants you to do after Xiaohong is to understand where you stand. From now on, we have arranged a lot of roles for you, but they will all be supporting roles, not leading roles. You need to understand what it's like to be a supporting role for all sorts of people. Hairue never wants half-baked people. Hairue? Luo Sheng was surprised to hear this name. That's right, Hairue. We have a partnership with Hairue. As long as an artist passes our standards, they will eventually sign with Hairue. If you want to go, you need to give it your all. After hearing Long Jie's words, Luo Sheng's fighting spirit rose even higher. Joining Hairue meant that he had a chance of becoming a superstar in the future. If someone else said this, Luo Sheng would have thought it was a hollow promise. But when it came from Long Jie's mouth, it felt like it came from Tangning. So, he had no choice but to believe it. Don't worry, Long Jie. I can handle hardships, Long Jie replied with a mysterious smile. She then placed the script in front of Luo Sheng. Have a look at it and report to the set as soon as possible. Luo Sheng would never forget that his second role was that of an antagonist. In fact, he had to wear a mask for a long period of time. But Luo Sheng was already mentally prepared. Since Tangning had arranged everything, she must have her reasons. So, a few days later, he arrived on set with the script in hand. Seeing Luo Sheng's confidence, Long Jie relaxed. So, that night, when she reported to Tangning, she also praised the child. Is it time to prepare an assistant for this child? There's no hurry. Right now, he is just a supporting actor. He doesn't need so much protection. He has already experienced what he needs to go through. It's not like he is a spoiled child. Plus, after he finishes filming, it is time we sign an artist. Are you done? Long Jie asked excitedly. Lin Qian is observing. Tangning replied. A few days ago, Luo Sheng asked me when you would leave the mountain again. Wait until superstar media becomes famous, Tangning replied. This time, she wasn't going to do it as a model or an actress. She was going to do it as a manager and boss. Perhaps, when the time came, she would have 2 little kids by her side. I look forward to that day. After speaking, Long Jie hung up the phone, packed her things, and drove home. However, as soon as she stepped through the front door, she noticed the atmosphere was a little different. It turned out Mother Lu had arrived. Lu Che was still working overtime at the office, and the person taking care of the child was the nanny. As soon as she saw Long Jie return home, she gave her a look. It was obvious that she didn't want to get involved in the battle. Long Jie nodded her head and gestured for her to hurry home. After the nanny left, only Long Jie and Mother Lu were left at home. The atmosphere was extremely tense. How long has it been since you finished your confinement? If you don't take care of your child, how are you going to work? Can't Lu Che afford to take care of you? Mother Lu asked. Do you think it's difficult for you to give birth to a son? Why are you so energetic when you go to work? Mom, don't be so harsh with your words, Long Jie said calmly as she respected the elderly and loved the young. Do you and Lu Che still see me as their mother? I don't. So there's no point in being a mother, Long Jie replied smoothly. Recently, she had been interacting with a lot of people, so she was getting more and more fluent with her words. Afterwards, Long Jie entered the house to look for her daughter. However, the child that was supposed to be in the crib was nowhere to be seen. Don't bother looking. I'm taking the child with me. Since you won't take care of it, I'll have to get someone else to do it, Mother Lu said fiercely. This time, Long Jie didn't hold back anymore. She directly approached Mother Lu and asked, Is there something wrong with your brain? Since you look down on my daughter, what does my child have to do with you? Are you a fucking psycho? I'll give birth to the child if I want to. To put it bluntly, it's none of your business. Would you dare to yell at me like this when Lu Che is here? Mother Lu yelled. Not just Lu Che. Even if the emperor was here, I would still yell at you. Who do you think you are? Long Jie pointed to Mother Lu's nose and yelled. Hurry up and return the child to me. Don't make me use the same methods I use on outsiders on you. However, Mother Lu simply sneered. Just as she was about to leave, Long Jie stopped her. If you don't hand over the child, don't go anywhere. Soon, Lu Che returned home from work. Seeing the tense atmosphere in the house, he could tell from a glance at the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Your mother took the child away. Ask her to get it back. Lu Che, from now on, wherever she goes, I won't be there. She's a fucking psycho. After speaking, Long Jie turned around and returned to the bedroom. Lu Che took a deep breath and glanced at Mother Lu. Why must you ruin our mother-son relationship? When you married this woman, you should have known that this day would come. Return my daughter to me. Otherwise, you will be very sad. Lu Che's tone was calm, but it contained a serious threat. Xiao Man's personality has already changed because of you. Don't you think you've done enough? All you care about is that woman. When have you ever thought about your mother? Daughter? Unless you give me a son in exchange. Even if I die, I won't let you find your daughter. Give up. By the way, if she doesn't want to give birth to a child, you can give me your sperm, and I can use it as a test tube. Technology is so advanced now. I don't necessarily need her. Lu Che, all your mother wants is a grandson. Chapter 8:25. Can you guarantee that you'll return my daughter to me and that you'll never appear in front of us again? Lu Che asked. We can sign a contract. No, I want to cut off our relationship, Lu Che said to Mother Lu. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., I'll see you at the hospital entrance with my daughter. From tomorrow onwards, you are no longer my mother. Please go home today. Mother Lu never expected Lu Che to be so decisive. But she didn't seem to think there was anything to miss, so she arrogantly turned around and left Lu Che and Long Jie's home. Seeing the mess in the house, Lu Che did not go straight into the bedroom to comfort Long Jie. Instead, he tidied up the house before knocking on the door and calling out, Xiao Man, where's my daughter? Long Jie asked as she opened the door. I agreed to give Ms. Lu some sperm so she could do IVF. She agreed to return our daughter in exchange for us to cut off our relationship as mother and son. You, don't worry. She won't be able to get me. I will make other arrangements, don't worry, Lu Che said as he held on to Long Jie's shoulder. I refuse to believe that she'll continue to be crazy. No one would treat their mother like this. But that was only if the mother loved her children. Not to mention, Long Jie was still stuck in the middle. Even if Lu Che didn't have Long Jie, he wouldn't have tolerated his mother for long if he had known earlier how crazy she was. Okay, after I get my daughter back, I will move, Long Jie said to Lu Che. I hope from now on, someone as disgusting as her will no longer appear in my life. Lu Che pulled Long Jie into his embrace and patted her on the back comfortingly. Sorry, I didn't handle your relationship well. Forget it. No one can handle someone like your mother well. I can't afford to offend her, but I can hide from her. Let's watch a good show tomorrow. After speaking, the couple washed up and went to bed. The next morning, Long Jie did not follow. Only Lu Che appeared at the hospital entrance. In order to make things go smoothly, Lu Che used his connections to ask the doctor for a small favor. The thing you asked for is with the doctor. I've already fulfilled your wish. Where's my daughter? Around an hour later, Lu Che returned to Mother Lu and asked about her daughter's whereabouts. If you go back on your word, then having a grandchild is impossible. Mother Lu harumphed. When she saw the doctor behind Lu Che nod, she told Lu Che, she's in my car. Someone will take care of her. Let me make it clear first. From this moment on, I'm no longer your son. From now on, anything that you do has nothing to do with me. This includes the grandson that you think you have in the future. I don't want it anymore, Lu Che said ruthlessly. Don't worry, I won't come looking for you. Your father, and I will raise it. Suit yourself. I will definitely let my grandson have a better future than your precious daughter. Lu Che looked at Mother Lu meaningfully and put away his phone. He then walked out of the hospital to pick up his daughter. Seeing that Lu Che had left, Mother Lu sneered. He doesn't seem to mind right now and thinks that all his children are the same. But when he gets old, he'll understand how pitiful it is to not have a son by his side. Just wait and see. After returning to the car and seeing her precious daughter, Long Jie finally relaxed and asked Lu Che, "What did you do to her?" Lu Che smiled and replied, "I used the hospital stock. Since she likes her grandchild so much, I'll let her take care of him. But she's going to find out sooner or later that he's not her biological grandson." Long Jie was a little worried. "Don't worry, I won't let him become an orphan. If Madame Lu doesn't want to take care of him, someone else will," Lu Che replied. "You can say that I've helped someone else fulfill their wish." Long Jie didn't know what Lu Che was planning, but she trusted that he knew what he was doing. After all, this was a life. Since Lu Che had already made arrangements, it was time for her to stop worrying. "Will Madame Lu come back again?" "We will move immediately," Lu Che said as he placed a kiss on Long Jie's forehead. "From now on, don't lose our daughter again," Long Jie warned. Lu Che nodded his head. At this time, Luo Sheng was peacefully acting as the second male lead on set. Needless to say, Tangning's taste for drama was second to none. For example, this character, although he wore a mask early on, he took it off towards the end. The director was extremely satisfied with his appearance and kept praising him. As soon as he appeared on screen, he was bound to attract a huge response from fans. In reality, he did not have high hopes that this drama would bring him anything. He simply thought that Tongning wanted to train his mind and acting skills. Meanwhile, Tongning had already chosen her second artist and instructed Lin Qian to observe her in secret. Because of this, the higher-ups at Hai Rui had already mentioned Superstar Media to Mo Ting a few times. But half a year had already passed. Why hadn't Tongning done anything? Didn't she know that there was a time limit? Above all, as time went by, they began to doubt that Tongning could actually be a good manager. Did she really think that by staying at home and taking care of her child, she could develop a superstar? How could there be such a good thing in the world? President Mo, I previously had high hopes for Tongning. But now, you need to give us an explanation. Otherwise, she won't be able to open a studio in a year. That's right, it's already been half a year. I think it's best that she save herself first. Since there's still half a year left, let's all keep quiet, Mo Ting said. Has she held back your money-making in the past half a year? The shareholders were all silent. In reality, even Mo Ting didn't know what game Tongning was playing. It wasn't easy for Luo Sheng to achieve good results. Yet she suddenly asked him to play the second male lead. It wasn't easy for him to build up his popularity, yet it was all gone. What was she thinking? In reality, Tongning never intended for Luo Sheng to make Superstar Media famous. She knew that Luo Sheng was still a newcomer and she couldn't spoil him. Plus, he couldn't possibly achieve much in 1 year. So, she decided to slowly train him. This was why she created Superstar Media in the first place. Plus, she had placed her hopes on the second artist to hand in her results. Her second artist was a female singer from a talent show. 3 years ago, she almost won first place on a talent show. But because her twin sister slandered her for stealing from the organizers, she was disqualified from the finals. Although the incident wasn't made public, it still caused quite a commotion in the industry. After all, plenty of people knew that her hands were dirty. Meanwhile, her twin sister had already become a diva. Chapter 8:26. They were both sisters, but one was the center of attention, while the other was infamous. But Tongning knew that this girl's singing was very unique, yet she had been forced to become a teacher at a music school. The reason why she contacted the girl was because a large-scale talent show was about to begin. And the reason why Lin Qian observed her for so long was because she wanted to see how passionate she was about becoming a champion. That night, Mo Ting returned home and carried Zishi in his arms as he looked at Tongning. There's not much time left. Tongning held onto her bowl and chopsticks as she glanced at him. You don't trust me? I'm anxious for you. There's no need. Tongning handed the chopsticks to Mo Ting. When have I ever disappointed you? Are you really not going to ask me for help? Ting suddenly raised an eyebrow as he looked at Tongning seductively. I'm not going to ask for help. There's a price to pay. Tongning did not want to fall into his trap. After dinner, Ting helped the rascals bathe while Tongning gave Lin Xin a phone call. There's not much time left. You can make your move now. Actually, Lin Xin couldn't hold back any longer. Such a talented girl had been framed by her own sister. It was easy to imagine how much hatred she felt. Plus, every day at school, she repeated the simple routine of work and life. She didn't like it at all. However, Tongning had never expressed her stance before. But now that Tongning felt that the time was right, Lin Xin decided to send the girl an invitation. The next day, while the girl was in class, Lin Xin waited outside the classroom. As soon as the class was over, she invited her out. Can I take up half an hour of your time? I know you don't have class in the afternoon. The girl was a little surprised, but after seeing Lin Xin hand her a business card, she nodded her head. Although she wanted to reject, as long as it was related to the entertainment industry, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Soon, the two arrived at a cafe near the school. As soon as they sat down, Lin Xin introduced herself. You can call me Lin Xin. I'm from Superstar Media. I've never heard of this company, the girl replied as she shook her head. That's not important. What's important is, do you want to take back what belongs to you? Lin Xin asked. I've actually observed you for a long time, and I know about your past. I think I'm doing great right now. The girl unexpectedly rejected Lin Xin before she even finished her sentence. You must think I'm a liar, right? Lin Xin suddenly laughed and explained. With all due respect, what do I have to lie to you now? I don't have money, and I don't have sex. A hint of awkwardness flashed in the other party's eyes. I know you almost became the champion of a talent show because of your sister. What if our agency gave you another chance and allowed you to step onto the stage? Would you have the confidence to win first place? There was a glimmer of light in the man's eyes, but it quickly dimmed. It's useless. That person warned me that if I participate in another talent show, she'll tell everyone about my theft. What if we can help you get rid of your identity as a thief? Lin Xin asked with a smile. Impossible. There's nothing that Superstar Media can't do. After speaking, Lin Xin took out her business card again and handed it to him. This time, don't throw it away. I think you really need it. I can promise you that not only will we help you clear your name, but we will also help you secure a spot on the talent show. But you need to be fearless. If you want to live the rest of your life in humiliation, no one can help you. Think about it carefully. If you agree, then come to Superstar Media tomorrow morning to sign your contract. After speaking, Lin Xin left the cafe, leaving the girl on her own with a pounding heart. Even in her dreams, she wanted to step onto the stage again. But her sister tried everything she could to suppress her. Even her current job had to be approved by her sister before she had a choice. What was the point of her life? After a moment of thought, the girl gave her sister a phone call. But when her sister picked up, she sounded annoyed. Didn't I tell you that I'm busy during the day and that you shouldn't call me? Do you want the entire country to know that you're a thief? Hearing the woman's threatening tone, the girl quickly took a deep breath. I'm sorry. What's the point of sorry? You should never learn from your mistakes. I'm the queen of love songs. How could I have such an embarrassing sister? Stop calling me. After speaking, the woman hung up. The girl stared at her phone in a daze. In the end, a cold smile appeared on her face. Perhaps she should give it a try. That night, even Lin Xin was a little nervous. She knew that she wasn't as good at hitting on people's sore spots as Long Jie was, nor did she know how to move people. But even so, she had a strong feeling that this girl would definitely show up. So, the next day, she arrived at the agency early in the morning. It didn't take long before the girl arrived. I can sign a contract, but I have an additional condition. You can't let my sister know that I'm participating in a competition, the girl said. That's a small matter, Lin Xin shrugged. The girl impulsively signed the contract. Only after signing did she realize that she had lost control of herself. I am a little regretful right now. You don't have to regret it. We've already signed you up with a new stage name. Besides, you're going to undergo a makeover soon. No one will recognize you for the time being. Only when you enter the national competition will you attract some people's attention. Do you understand? As for your school, I will help you make arrangements. I won't expose you in front of your sister. You simply need to work hard to take back everything that belongs to you. I don't understand. Why is your agency doing this? The girl didn't understand. They weren't scamming money, they weren't scamming women, they weren't famous. Yet they were spending so much money. You will naturally understand when the time comes, Lin Qian said, keeping the girl in suspense. As this was her first time doing this, there were a lot of things that Lin Qian didn't do well. So, she needed Tongning's guidance, including the girl's future competition arrangements. As for the girl's shameless sister, only someone at Tongning's level would be able to deal with her. She was a slut, so she needed an eye for an eye. However, the girl was still worried that someone would find out about her theft. She didn't think that Superstar Media had the ability to deal with it, so she simply reminded herself to be careful. But Tongning was waiting for the day that her sister came knocking on her door. Chapter 8:27. Long Jie had the ability to manage Luo Sheng, but Lin Qian wasn't experienced enough. She needed Tongning to coordinate and guide her from behind the scenes. Plus, this was the key to Superstar Media's continued existence. So, from now on, Tongning placed her focus on the girl. It didn't take long before Luo Sheng found out from Long Jie that Superstar Media had signed a new artist. But not only was it a woman, it was also a singer. In other words, the two weren't competitors. After all, they were both active in different industries and wouldn't overlap in the early stages. In reality, Luo Sheng was already mentally prepared. If Superstar Media wanted to develop, they couldn't just sign one artist. But it was obvious that Superstar Media cared a lot about his feelings. Luo Sheng, since Superstar Media has signed you, they won't give up on you. Don't worry, Long Jie personally arrived on set to comfort Luo Sheng. Long Jie personally arrived on set to comfort Luo Sheng. She then looked at the director and whispered into his ear, "Your director is a loyal person. You should get closer to him." Although Luo Sheng was confused, he still nodded his head. He knew that Long Jie didn't mean what she said on the surface. Your current task is to build connections. You don't need to use flowery words, just be sincere. Even if the sky falls, Superstar Media will hold it for you. At that moment, Luo Sheng still didn't understand what Long Jie meant. But he quickly realized that Tongning's advice was a turning point in his career. It didn't take long before Mo Ting found out that Tongning had signed a new artist and that she was going to participate in the Journey singing competition. He couldn't deny that Tongning's arrangement made sense. If he can help that child win first place, she can directly join Hai Rui, Mo Ting said. I don't need you to go easy on me. I'm not going easy on you. Hai Rui is sponsoring this competition and has already signed a contract with the organizers. Mo Ting replied gently. Mo Ting replied gently. If you can guarantee that she will win first place, then entering Hai Rui will be perfectly justifiable. Tongning's eyes lit up with surprise. Really? Mo Ting lifted Tongning, who had already wiped her body clean, and placed her on the soft bed. His large hand swept across Tongning's abdomen. When have I ever lied to you? But you can't do anything to help me. Tongning needed Mo Ting's promise. I want that child to receive the championship trophy with a justifiable reason. Tongning needed Mo Ting's promise. Whatever you say. After speaking, Mo Ting leaned over and placed a kiss on her stomach. Tongning took a deep breath as her right hand grabbed onto Mo Ting's hair. Ting, I also want a daughter. But I don't plan on letting you have another one. After all, when those two rascals were born, they already tortured you enough. My heart aches for you to suffer again. That was just my first pregnancy. A second one won't be so tough, Tongning comforted. That won't do either. But I want to see you dote on yet helpless towards your lover. Tongning insisted. While the rascals can already walk and I have some time, I want a daughter. You want a daughter? That will depend on your own abilities. Mo Ting flipped over and lay down. He looked at Tongning seriously. His meaning couldn't be more obvious. Do it yourself. Tongning glared at him, but she still flipped over and lay on top of him. Even if she didn't want a daughter, she still loved Mo Ting's body. How could merely admiring it be enough? After being together for so long, the couple were well aware of each other's sensitive spots. All Tongning had to do was place a little more effort behind Mo Ting's ear, and he would lose control. Seeing that Mo Ting was obviously trying to regain control, Tongning smiled. Can't hold back anymore? Quick! Mo Ting wanted so badly to hug this woman in his arms and crush her to pieces. How could she still be so attractive? The next day, Hai Rui's office. Although Tongning had instructed Mo Ting not to get involved, Mo Ting still called Lu Che into his office and instructed, "You will be supervising the entire journey competition. We can't allow anything unfair to happen. If there are any unwritten rules or predetermined results, you know the consequences." "Don't worry, President," Lu Che nodded. Since Mo Ting placed so much importance on this match, it was important that it was fair. So, he immediately contacted the organizers and requested that they strictly follow the competition rules and that Hai Rui would be supervising at all times. At this time, under Tongning's instructions, Lin Xian took the young woman to a stylist to get a makeover. To hide the truth, Lin Xian asked the stylist to cut the young woman's hair short and make her look as neutral as possible. On top of that, to distinguish her from the other female diva, Lin Xian asked the stylist to add a mole an inch below the corner of the young woman's right eye. Lin Xian remembered Tongning's instructions. She had to make Xinglan look like a country bumpkin. It would be best if she disappeared into a crowd. "Remember, you have a new name. You will be called Xinglan." The young woman looked at herself in the mirror and nodded her head in seriousness, even though she didn't understand Lin Xian's actions. "The auditions are about to begin. You will need to undergo a short period of training." "Yes, I understand. You've participated in the competition before, so you should know the rules. The competition will last for 3 months, and the final winner will directly sign with Hai Rui," Lin Xian explained. "In other words, there won't be any unspoken rules in this competition, and there won't be any unfair treatment." Xinglan turned around and looked at Lin Xian with sparkling eyes. "I will definitely win first place for everyone to see." Singing alone isn't enough for you. You also need tactics. But I won't be able to teach you this. You will be given special guidance, Lin Xian said mysteriously as she raised an eyebrow. Xinglan was confused, but she quickly recovered. Unknowingly, she had already developed a trust in superstar media. "But this person will not appear before you enter the top 100. For now, if you have any questions, you will have to pass them on to me." "Okay, I will definitely meet this person soon." Although the requirements weren't too high at the start of the competition, it didn't mean that she didn't need to pay attention to anything. The day before the auditions, Xinglan was already prepared to amaze everyone with a single brilliant feat, but that night, she received a phone call from Lin Xian. "For the auditions tomorrow, just show your basics. Don't expose your bottom line so quickly." "But if I do that, the judges may not remember me." Although Hai Rui will make sure that the competition is fair, don't forget that the contestants will compete against each other. If you steal the limelight as soon as you appear, do you think you can safely enter the top 100? Keep a low profile. The judges will be able to tell if you are a capable singer or not. Trust me, you only have one chance at the competition. Throw away your arrogance. Chapter 8:28. Plus, do you want your sister to see you as soon as she sees you? After hearing Lin Xian's words, Xinglan thought about it for an entire night. She felt that Lin Xian's words made sense. She had to keep a low profile to avoid her sister for a while. Therefore, during the audition, she needed to demonstrate her solid basic skills. 9 a.m., accompanied by Lin Xian, Xinglan arrived at the auditions. Seeing the huge crowd, Xinglan couldn't help but sigh. No matter how difficult it was, the number of people in this world that wanted to become a celebrity would only increase. The auditions had a strict set of requirements. Whether it was age or height, they all had a certain standard. After all, they would end up signing with Hai Rui, so not everyone could participate. Xinglan's qualifications weren't bad. In the eyes of the judges, apart from looking a little old-fashioned, she met all the requirements. However, They had no idea that Tongning had deliberately asked Xinglan to disguise herself as an old-fashioned girl. A girl that didn't fight for anything was the most inconspicuous and difficult to deal with. On the other hand, those that appeared shocking and exposed themselves were easy to remember. But they would also become public enemies. Against someone like Xinglan, one would only need to use 30% of their strength. But against someone that showed off, one would need to go all out. Those that met the requirements for the auditions also received their number and entered the hall to wait for the judges to summon them. As there were a lot of people at the auditions, the judges didn't give them much time. Everyone wanted to make use of those few seconds to prove themselves, but they often ended up exposing their weaknesses. Plus, in order to make it to the semifinals, many people put in effort into their appearance and attire to make themselves as eye-catching as possible in order to leave a good impression with the judges. But, under Tongning's instructions, Xinglan wore the simplest clothes and did not put on any makeup. She looked simple, but still carried a sense of heroism. "Go on, it's your turn." Lin Qian accompanied Xinglan. As soon as she heard the judge's call, she immediately leaned on Xinglan's arm. "Don't think too much. Trust yourself." Xinglan nodded her head and headed into the performance studio. The judges were used to seeing glamorous girls, so they were surprised to see Xinglan appear like this. Xinglan indeed didn't dress up like the other children, but she was clean and looked especially pure. The judge glanced at her and waved his hand. "Let's begin." Xinglan's voice was clean, and she did not choose to sing a difficult song. Instead, she sang a light and lively children's song. As a result, the judges put down their pens and turned their attention to her. "Huh, this kid seems like a good kid. After listening to so many songs, this is the most pleasing to my ears." That soprano just now almost pierced my ear. After listening to so much rubbish, listening to children's songs is a good way to relax. Just like that, Xinglan finished singing the nursery rhyme for 3 whole minutes. The judges looked at Xinglan and nodded their heads in approval. "That's it. Don't dress up and focus on singing. You will only get better and better. That's more like a singer. You've advanced." The 4 judges unanimously approved. After bowing to the judges, Xinglan almost burst into tears. It turned out that the most ordinary things were the most dazzling. This was Tongning and Lin Qian's strategy. Being dazzling in front of others wasn't considered a skill. As long as they left an impression in front of the judges, it was considered a success. Seeing that Xinglan had advanced, Lin Qian let out a sigh of relief. There were still 3 months until the next competition, so she had a lot to be nervous about. "President Lin, thank you. From now on, I will listen to everything you say. Did you think I thought of this? I was guided by the expert behind me. You haven't seen how amazing she is yet. Let's go and keep a low profile. Let's go home and prepare for the next competition." Lin Qian hooked her arm around Xinglan's shoulder as they left the auditions together. Not too far away, Tongning's car was actually parked in a corner. She watched as Lin Qian and Xinglan left with her own eyes. Seeing the excitement in their eyes, there shouldn't be any problems. In this world, being capable wasn't enough. You also needed to know how to earn points for yourself. It's only the auditions. She still has a long way to go, Ting said as he sat beside her. "But with a strategist like you around, I'm sure she'll be able to win first place." "Thank you for having so much confidence in me." Tongning couldn't help but laugh. "If I was still young, I would definitely attend." "That won't do. From now on, only I can listen to your singing." Ting quickly stopped her. "Especially when you sing at night. Your voice is especially nice. Don't be serious." Tongning pushed his shoulder and gestured for him to start driving. The competition had only just begun. There was still a long way to go before she could win. Xinglan was extremely excited about the competition. So, after returning home, she had no time to rest. But her sister, the Heavenly Queen, picked a good time to give her a phone call. "What did you want to talk to me about 2 days ago?" The Heavenly Queen sounded as casual and arrogant as ever. "Nothing," Xinglan replied. "I simply wanted to ask you when your concert tour will start. I want to go and cheer you on." "Oh, I ran out of tickets. So, you should just go to class." I have so many fans, I don't mind missing you. Actually, there's something that I've wanted to ask you for a long time. Do you feel even the slightest bit guilty about what happened 3 years ago? Xinglan asked. Why would I feel guilty? It's only right for an older sister to give in to her younger sister. Plus, you were the one who stole from her, so you should be blaming yourself, the Heavenly Queen replied. My dear sister, I haven't let you starve, have I? I provided you with good food and drinks. What more do you want? You have no idea how tiring it is to be a singer. Huh? By the way, Mom and Dad bought me a house. I just wanted to let you know. They only bought it for you. Why would they buy a house for the daughter that embarrassed them? That Heavenly Queen asked. Don't think that Mom and Dad are biased. You asked for it. I'm busy, so I'm going to hang up now. Xinglan felt like her heart was bleeding, but she resisted the urge to explode. One day, she was going to show this slut what it meant to be a true champion. As for her parents, from the moment they kicked her out of the house, she already thought of herself as an orphan. She was going to make them regret it one day. But the most important thing right now was to continue competing. She wanted to enter the top 100 and meet the person behind Lin Xian. This was also the beginning of superstar media's popularity. So, Tongning was prepared to make everyone's jaws drop. She was not going to let the world bully her again. Chapter 8:29. Journey, when translated into English, meant a journey. But because the English language was better suited to the competition, the organizers decided to turn it into a battle of the kings. The competition was split into 3 parts: the qualifiers, the semifinals, the top 300, and then the top 100. The competition was a direct and cruel elimination round with no revival round or other rules. In other words, only the top 100 contestants had the right to hear the rules of the competition. From the semifinals onwards, every Saturday night would be broadcasted live. In other words, the top 100 contestants would be determined in 1 month's time. The competition could be said to be very tight. The contestants had to prepare for the next battle in just a few days. This was the extremely cruel path of this competition. The number of people that made it through the qualifiers is quite surprising. So, don't relax just because you think you still have a lot of spots. I'm not against you relaxing, but you need to understand how important this competition is to you. Lin Lan escorted Tongning back to her home. She then scanned her eyes across the apartment that Tongning was currently living in. No, this place is too shabby. You need to move somewhere else. But won't my sister get suspicious? Don't worry. From the day you signed with Superstar Media, unless you tell her yourself, she won't hear about you from anyone else, Lin Lan reassured. She will simply assume that her sister is still an unknown teacher at a music academy. Okay, I'll listen to the agency. In that case, I'll take you out for dinner first before I send you back to pack your luggage. Lin Xian led her into the hotel. But not long after they sat down, they overheard the people around them discussing the competition. After all, a grand event like this only happened once every few years, so it was naturally a hot topic for discussion. You guys just joined the competition. Did you guys pass the qualifiers? Who do you think our Nana is? How could she not pass? She's so pretty and has such a great voice. She's a natural-born celebrity. Hearing the people at the next table discussing the auditions, Lin Xian shook her head at Xinglan. Remember this pretty girl called Nana. I bet she will definitely be eliminated in the next round. That can't be. She's so pretty. The woman was dressed in a long white dress and had a sweet appearance. No matter how one looked at her, she was definitely going to get a good placing. Do you really think this competition is a beauty contest? Also, believe me, it won't be long before some ugly and dirty things start to spread in the circle. Fame and fortune were the most attractive things in this world. Once you had the opportunity to possess them, who would be so foolish to let go? Don't worry, it's good that you're keeping a low profile. Xinglan wouldn't become a thorn in other people's side. At least, in the early stages, it wouldn't be easy for trouble to find her. Lin Xian was very confident. Of course, this was all thanks to her teacher, Tongning. Xinglan smiled in response. The semifinals were to be held in 6 days. However, Tongning was not in a rush to train Xinglan like everyone else. She didn't hire an expert to help her with her singing. Instead, she told her to relax as usual. She knew that Xinglan didn't lose to anyone when it came to talent. All she lacked was stability and confidence. Soon, the semifinals were held at Beijing Stadium. As usual, Lin Qian accompanied Xinglan to the venue. This time, it was still an elimination round. There were 5 contestants in a group, and only one person would advance. At the venue, the 2 women spotted the beautiful woman that they had met at the hotel the other day, Nana. Today, she was dressed beautifully, and no one could take their eyes off her. But Lin Qian had already said that this woman was definitely going to be eliminated this time. "Let's go and draw lots," Lin Qian reminded. After drawing lots, they each found their group and waited patiently. But as soon as Xinglan entered her group, the other girls looked at her questioningly. In fact, they even looked at her as if she wasn't a big deal. They didn't feel threatened because Xinglan didn't have a sharp edge. At this time, Xinglan finally understood why Lin Qian wanted her to act like a country bumpkin. If she wasn't a threat in the eyes of others, it meant that they would underestimate her. "What's your strategy this time?" Xinglan whispered into Lin Qian's ear. "Sing a song that you're comfortable with, and keep your true abilities to yourself. It's not time for you to reveal your true abilities yet." Understood. So, while the other contestants were singing hysterically on stage and crying, Xinglan remained unusually calm. She was still as simple and plain as ever. But one of the judges this time happened to be one of the judges, so he was particularly curious when he saw Xinglan. But he did not mention this to the other judges because he still needed to confirm Xinglan's abilities. Otherwise, if he told the others now, it would only increase their expectations of Xinglan. "Child, you can begin," the judge reminded. This time, Xinglan no longer sang a nursery rhyme. Instead, she sang a heartwarming song. After so much hysteria, the judge's ears were about to explode. So, a heartwarming song was the best way to relieve their fatigue. Xinglan's voice was as clean as usual, and she had a sweet and warm smile. As she immersed herself in her singing, her emotions were like Tong Ning's acting. Naturally, she was able to portray the essence of the song. When it came to singing, it wasn't easy to tell how good her singing was. But her singing was very stable, and her voice was very comforting. Out of the 5 contestants, only one would advance. So, there was a 20% chance. It didn't seem like a big or small opportunity, but once it was lost, it would be lost forever. As the 5 contestants stood together on stage, it was time to decide their fates. The rest of the people didn't even think that the unprepossessing person on the far left could possibly advance. What kind of joke was this? The entertainment industry wasn't a place that a country bumpkin who didn't understand fashion could enter. But the judges announced Xinglan's name. "Congratulations, Xinglan. You've obtained the highest score in your group and successfully advanced. Next week, prepare for the top 100 from 300. Xinglan bowed and thanked the judges. Meanwhile, the other contestants looked at her in surprise. "What? What just happened? How did that country bumpkin advance?" "There's a conspiracy." At this time, Xinglan no longer cared about the discussions around her. She simply left the stage with her head held high and returned to Lin Qian's side. "I've successfully advanced. But I'm looking forward to the top 100 more. The day you enter the top 100 will be the day you see that person. That's when the real competition begins." As for Tong Ning, she was planning to officially announce to everyone that she was back. When she thought about how the media would react, they would probably find it funny. Chapter 830. Luo Sheng was on set, so when he didn't have any scenes to film, he would watch videos of the journey competition. Plus, he vaguely remembered Long Jie mentioning that Tong Ning's new artist was called Xinglan. So, he took note of this woman. Amongst all the other contestants, she didn't look outstanding, but she was filled with confidence. This was something that Luo Sheng really liked. Especially after hearing the nursery rhyme that she sang during the competition, Luo Sheng was even more certain that she had the potential to win first place. He also remembered Long Jie's advice to get closer to the director. Even if he couldn't become close, he should at least be an obedient actor. Late at night, Luo Sheng was still waiting for his scenes to start. But he quickly noticed that the director was feeling uneasy and had received a few phone calls in a row. Luo Sheng couldn't help but ask, "Director, what happened?" Seeing that it was Luo Sheng, the director put away his phone and smiled. "It's nothing. Go back and continue filming. If you have any difficulties, you can tell me." Luo Sheng simply said this. The director had always liked obedient, talented, and hardworking kids. So after hearing Luo Sheng's words, he jokingly replied, "I owe you money. Will you lend it to me?" "How much?" "1 million. The director was simply trying to scare Luo Sheng. After all, a small fry like Luo Sheng and an unknown actor couldn't possibly have so much money. But Luo Sheng did not hesitate as he gave Long Jie a phone call and asked for a loan of $1 million. As soon as the director realized that Luo Sheng was being serious, he quickly waved his hands. "I'm just messing with you. I'm still a director. Don't make me feel like I'm being bribed." Luo Sheng put away the money and smiled shyly. "My manager said that you are a loyal friend. So if you are really in trouble, I am more than willing to help." "Oh." The director squinted his eyes and led Luo Sheng to sit on the steps with him. Just like that, the two started chatting. "I know you used to be in a group. Singing, right? Then you signed with a new agency and found a new path. Young man, why don't you work for me from now on?" Luo Sheng thought for a moment and shook his head. "No, I can be friends with you, but I won't leave my agency." "Tell me, which company are you from?" "Superstar Media." "I've never heard of it." The director scratched his head and said, "Is it a new company? There's no future. You'll have to work hard for at least 3 years before you can achieve anything." "That won't happen. I believe that in less than a year, I will definitely become famous," Luo Sheng said confidently. "Who's your boss? Why are you so confident?" Luo Sheng was silent for a few seconds as he thought about what Long Jie had told him. So, without hesitation, he called out to the director, "Tongning." "Who?" The director was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out. "Tongning." Luo Sheng repeated. "It's none other than the actress, Tongning. Oh my God, this is big news. I was wondering what Tongning went to do after retiring. It turns out she became a manager. Since she is your boss, I won't try to stop her. If she was able to make herself a best actress, then I'm sure a small fry like you would be a piece of cake," the director exclaimed. "Haven't you heard about this from the public?" "She doesn't plan to go public yet." The director understood what he meant and nodded his head. "Don't worry, loyal rascal. I will help you keep this a secret. You are a future superstar. You are actually very talented in acting. After this film is over, I will recommend you and introduce you to some of the big shots in the film industry." "Thank you, director." Luo Sheng thanked him. "What's there to thank me for? There are many people in the industry that are sincere. Tongning is definitely one of them. I'm a fan of hers, but unfortunately, she won't be filming anymore." This time, Luo Sheng and the director finally had a chance to get to know each other. Of course, Luo Sheng would soon witness how wide the director's connections were. After this, Luo Sheng treated Tongning's words like an imperial edict. Quanzai finally found out that Lin Xian was a manager. She was currently taking a little girl to a singing competition. As her brother, Quanzai felt that he should at least do something to help. So, on the eve of the top 300 competition, Lin Xian dropped Xing Lan off at home. At this time, Quanzai was waiting outside Xing Lan's home, leaning against the wall in the dark. "Why are you here?" Lin Xian furrowed her brows with a cold expression. "Who is he?" In the dark, Xing Lan could not see Quanzai's face clearly. She simply felt that this man was extremely tall. "You go upstairs first," Lin Xian instructed. "What? Are you afraid that I'll hurt her?" Quanzai stepped out from the darkness and exposed himself to the light. He then stretched out his hand flirtatiously toward Xing Lan. "Hello, I am Quanzai." "Quanzai, Xing Lan, my brother, is a jerk. Ignore him, he's very dangerous," Lin Xian said to Xing Lan. "So, no matter how he tries to get close to you, don't trust him, okay?" It seemed the two had a personal grudge. Xing Lan thought to herself, "You guys continue, I'm going upstairs first." "Okay." After Xing Lan left their sight, Zai finally stopped Lin Qian. You seem to be afraid that I'll make a move on this little girl. If you don't want me to hate you from the start, you can do that, Lin Qian replied. I hate it when personal grudges get mixed up with work. You don't hate anything. The only person you hate is me, Zai sneered. You're right. After speaking, Lin Qian boarded her car and prepared to leave. But Zai chased after her and threatened. Aren't you afraid that I'll ruin her competition? Hasn't she already made it into the top 300? You're simply trying to kill me. Lin Qian looked at Zai coldly. Do whatever you want. After all, I have to thank the Quan family for raising me, don't I? What happened between you and my mother in the past? Aren't you good at investigating? I'm sure you've put in a lot of effort. How did you not find anything? Zai had previously asked his housekeeper to arrange a private dinner with Mother Quan to get some information out of her. But he did not get any answers. How about this? Your brother isn't young anymore. Your artist seems pretty good tonight, so I've decided to pursue her. You can pursue anyone, but don't touch my artist, Lin Qian said before she drove off. Zai chuckled and quickly disappeared into the night. His chin still carried a sharp edge. Since she wanted to be a manager, he was going to let her be. As for the grudge between Lin Qian and his mother, he was going to get to the bottom of it sooner or later. Plus, he didn't believe that a little girl like her could win first place without relying on any background. Tong Ning's thoughts were a little ridiculous. Chapter 831. So, he decided to give this child a hand. As a result, the next day, Zai's secret meeting with a newcomer was exposed by the entertainment media. Xinglan was indeed not famous, but Zai was. But because of Zai's actions, Tong Ning and Lin Qian's plans were completely ruined. Zai was known as a demon, but he rarely had any scandals. Even if he didn't appear at Xinglan's apartment because they were a couple, there was still an unexplainable relationship between them. Now that the media had finally gotten their hands on the news, they naturally wanted to dig Xinglan into the ground and dig her ancestors' graves. As a result, Xinglan's exposure skyrocketed. Although the public did not immediately discover her identity, they found out that she was currently participating in the journey competition. When Lin Qian saw the news, she immediately comforted Xinglan and gave Tong Ning a phone call. I'm sorry, Ning Jie. Zai went to look for me. Even if you don't tell me, I already know. Now that the situation has gotten out of hand, a lot of things have gotten out of hand, Tong Ning said. You should know that exposing it too early won't do Xinglan any good. After all, not only will her sister find out about it, but she will also be exposed for the theft she committed in the past. Ning Jie, what should we do now? Lin Qian was a little anxious. She had a feeling that she was the cause of everything. I have an idea, but I'm afraid you won't agree to it, Tong Ning suddenly suggested after a moment of silence. Ning Jie, hurry and tell me. Explain your relationship with Zai to the public. That's the only way you can protect Xinglan. But I think it will put you in a difficult position. After hearing this, Lin Qian fell silent. After quite some time, she finally replied, Ning Jie, I agree to do this. But I want to decide how to go public. Is that okay? This is your privacy. Of course, you can do it, but you need to be quick. Otherwise, the public will go crazy and tear Xinglan apart. I understand. I will make preparations immediately, Lin Qian said before she hung up the phone. Tong Ning looked at her phone and took a deep breath. She then looked down at her son lying by her feet and picked him up in her arms. Silly. Did you see Daddy come home? Mo Ting entered the living room and took Zishi from Tong Ning's hands. I've seen the news. This is Zai's doing. As long as his relationship with Lin Qian isn't resolved, it will always be a dangerous factor. I know. That's why I suggested to Lin Qian that she make a choice between her career and the Quan family. Zai cares a lot about Lin Qian, but Lin Qian is the type of person that doesn't admit defeat. So, I think they still have a long way to go. Rake. While the couple were discussing work, they never imagined that Zishi would suddenly say something like this. He called him Daddy. The first person he learned to call was actually his father. Tongning couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Why? The first person Zichen will call out is his mother. Ting comforted as he carried Zishi in one arm. There's nothing to be jealous of. For the sake of how much I love you, I'll forgive the two of you. As the kids were distracted, Tongning wasn't as nervous as Lin Qian. After all, they had placed all their hopes on Xinglan. If anything happened to her, superstar media would be in danger of being shut down. After dinner, as Tongning coaxed the kids to sleep, Ting quietly made his way to the study room and gave Lu Che an emergency phone call. Tell the media not to let the situation escalate. Lu Che was a smart man, so he immediately understood. Don't worry, President. At this moment, Lin Qian was struggling internally. If Quan Zai hadn't caused trouble, she wouldn't have wanted to have anything to do with the Quan family. She could already imagine the look of hatred on Mother Quan's face when she found out that she was the second miss of the Quan family. But, for the sake of Xinglan, she felt that she had to make a sacrifice. So, she took this opportunity to tell Quan Zai not to waste any more time on her. Lin Qian, will my sister discover me soon? Xinglan asked. I feel a little uneasy right now. Don't worry, Lin Qian said as she stood by Xinglan's side. Trust me, after tonight, everything will return to how it was before. Xinglan nodded her head and patted Lin Qian on the shoulder. Get some rest. Afterwards, she took out a photo of the Quan family and contacted the media. The media should stop trying to figure out Xinglan's identity. Quan Zai appeared downstairs purely because he was looking for me. After listening to Lin Qian's explanation, the man laughed. You're just a manager. Why would Quan Zai look for you? You don't even know how to lie. Because I'm his sister. After speaking, Lin Qian sent a photo to the man on her phone. I am the adopted daughter of the Quan family and Quan Zai's sister. Do you believe me now? The other party saw the photo and nodded. All right, I know you want to clarify this matter. I will announce the truth tomorrow. This is considered first-hand information. In that case, I'll have to trouble you, Reporter Qin. After contacting the media, Lin Qian grabbed her car keys and headed straight for Quan Zai's apartment. As soon as the housekeeper saw Lin Qian, he was shocked. Second miss, it's none of your business. Lin Qian walked past the housekeeper and headed straight for Quan Zai, who was reading a script in his room. I've just announced our relationship to the media. Brother, I've told everyone that I'm the adopted daughter of the Quan family. Are you satisfied now? Quan Zai furrowed his brows, not understanding why Lin Qian had suddenly gone crazy. Why did you do this? That's the question I should be asking. Why did you create such an ambiguous relationship between you and Xinglan? She doesn't need any publicity, so I had no choice but to sacrifice myself to divert the public's attention, Lin Qian said coldly. Lin Qian replied coldly. She is a pitiful person that had her championship stolen from her. Can you not build your happiness on someone else's pain? Me neither. Lin Qian, don't you want to know what happened between me and your mother? You don't need to go through so much trouble to investigate. Let me tell you right now, your mother almost sold me for benefits. She said that I was the adopted daughter of the Quan family and that I had been living off them for so many years, so I should contribute to them. She tied me up and sent me to the man's bed. If the man wasn't so righteous, I would have had a few children by now. Of course, I was forced to do so. Quan Zai, because I hate your mother, I also hate you. Stop clinging to me. You're annoying me. Chapter 832. Second miss. The housekeeper heard Lin Qian's cruel words as he followed behind. Seeing the look of shock and pain in Quan Zai's eyes, Lin Qian's heart ached. After all, she had always relied on her brother since she was young. But the things that Mother Quan had done had truly hurt her. Housekeeper, take good care of him, Lin Qian said before she turned and left. Quan Zai looked at the way she didn't even turn around and almost burst out laughing. Look at how carefree she is. Young master, if what the second miss said is true, what are you going to do? The housekeeper asked helplessly. If the madam really did this, then that sounds like something she would do. Quan Zai leaned back with his hands. Although his expression did not change, he couldn't accept the fact that the two of them were growing apart. What else can I do? If Lin Qian doesn't want to marry me, then I have no choice but to remain single for the rest of my life. That won't do. Quan Zai smiled and did not say another word. There were some things that were more painful to know than to not know. If he had known earlier, he would not have forced Lin Qian. The next day, because of Lin Qian's revelation, the media's attention suddenly shifted to her and stopped digging into Xinglan. She was Quan Zai's sister, the adopted daughter of the Quan family. Since they had a photo together as proof, there was no doubt about Lin Qian's identity. However, after returning home, Lin Qian sat in bed and cried the entire night. Because when there were people in front of her, she would never let anyone see her cowardly side. With the addition of Hai Rue's control, things didn't get out of hand. Unfortunately, Li Kan had already discovered from the overwhelming amount of news that Xinglan was actually her sister. They were twins. Although Xinglan had changed her appearance and outsiders couldn't immediately tell, she was still Li Kan's sister. Even from the looks of it, Li Kan could tell that it was her sister. To be exact, she would recognize Xinglan even if she was reduced to ashes. However, at the beginning, she did not make a public announcement and personally went to the music school to confirm it. Sister, you're seriously unwilling to die like this. Li Kan, what should we do now? The manager asked. What else can we do? Of course, I'm going to teach my sister a lesson and tell her not to overestimate herself. After speaking, Li Kan put on his sunglasses and gestured for the driver to drive off. Xinglan's apartment had already been exposed on the news. Although the media no longer paid attention to it, it was easy for Li Kan to find it. The manager handed some money to the security guard and found out Xinglan's apartment number. Afterwards, the couple stormed into the elevator, and a moment later, they rang Xinglan's doorbell. Xinglan thought it was Lin Qian, but when she opened the door and saw it was Li Kan, her expression froze. What? Sister, it seems like you don't welcome me. Li Kan directly pushed Xinglan aside and entered her apartment. Look at you. You're about to debut, yet you haven't bought a big house yet. By the way, Mom and Dad have given me all their money to buy a villa. They have no plans for you. If you have something to say, then say it. If not, then leave. Xinglan turned around and tried her best to endure. My dear sister, do you really think that you can become the champion of the competition? Li Kan walked over to Xinglan and gently stroked her face. Her nails were so strong that they almost scratched Xinglan's cheeks. Who gave you the courage to do this? If this is what you're here to say to me, then leave. Xinglan directly asked her to leave. Li Kan turned around and looked at her manager as she gestured with her chin. The manager immediately understood what was going on. So, she grabbed Xinglan by the hair and dragged her to a corner before slamming her against it. She was a black belt in Taekwondo. How could Xinglan resist? You must have forgotten that you're also a thief. How dare you sign up for a competition behind my back? Li Xin. Have you forgotten that I can announce this to the public at any time? Xinglan's real name was Li Xin. Tongning did this for her convenience, but Li Kan still found out. You're amazing. You've entered the top 300 again. But let me tell you, if you don't announce your withdrawal on the day of the competition, I will announce your scandal to the public. Remember, you only have a few days to think about it. After speaking, Li Kan left the apartment with her manager. At this time, Lin Qian ran into two people walking out of Xinglan's apartment. At first, she didn't notice who they were. But when she saw the blood on Xinglan's head, she immediately chased after them and stopped them outside. Wait a minute. How dare you stop me? Li Kan yelled at Lin Qian while wearing sunglasses. Do you know who I am? Li Kan, this is your sister's manager. Li Kan's manager reminded from behind. That's her. Li Kan scanned Lin Qian from head to toe and laughed. Let me advise you not to waste your time on that bitch. She's about to withdraw from the competition soon. Who hit Xinglan a moment ago? Lin Qian asked with a sharp look in her eyes. All she wanted to do was pursue the matter. Didn't she accidentally hit herself? Li Kan's lips curved upwards. That's enough. Don't put on airs in front of me. Even if you are Quan Zai's sister, it doesn't mean you have a good relationship with him. Plus, I don't need to be afraid of offending him. Lin Qian wanted to endure it, but her heart told her that she needed to tear this woman apart. Otherwise, she would regret it one day. Do you want to fight? Let me remind you, the person behind me has a black belt in Taekwondo. Lin Xian wanted to go all out, but Xing Lan chased after her. Lin Xian let them go. However, Lin Xian refused to budge. Instead, she closed the door and blocked it with her body. At the same time, she gave Long Jie a phone call. Long Jie, there's something that I can't handle. I need your help. Oh, you're looking for help? Okay, I'll be waiting. Li Kan refused to believe that Lin Xian could actually find someone to help her. Don't tell me you're looking for your brother? But he hasn't even acknowledged you yet. Lin Xian was a hot-tempered person. This was something she couldn't deny. She had always believed that some grudges should be avenged on the spot. No matter how she did it, she should at least make herself and the people she cared about happy. That was the only way to live. Li Kan wasn't afraid of trouble as she waited for Lin Xian to call for help. She originally thought that Lin Xian would call for Quan Zai or some thugs, but she only found one woman. This woman was Long Jie, her ex-manager and now husband, a high-ranking executive at Hai Rue. What happened? Long Jie asked as soon as she entered the apartment. Xing Lan's sister hit Xing Lan and threatened her to withdraw from the competition, Lin Xian explained. Chapter 833. After Long Jie heard this, she looked over at Xing Lan, who was leaning against the wall. Apart from her pale face, her body was covered in blood. Go check on Xing Lan's injuries first, Long Jie instructed. Lin Xian nodded her head and stepped aside. She walked past the two arrogant men and headed straight for Xing Lan's side. Long Jie, right? I've heard a lot about you. Before Li Kan could finish her sentence, Long Jie stepped forward and threw a slap across her face. The manager immediately wanted to step forward, but Long Jie pointed at the manager's nose and said, "If you dare to make a move, I'll make you disappear from the entertainment industry immediately." It was obviously a ridiculous sentence, but when it came from Long Jie's mouth, it was extremely threatening, especially when her eyes were wide open and cold. The other party instantly lost his confidence and completely forgot that he should make a move. Li Kan's face was slapped to the side. She originally wanted to retaliate, but Long Jie quickly reached out and held on her hand. "You thieving slut, if you have the ability, go ahead and expose what happened 3 years ago. I'm waiting to see a good show. Let me tell you, Li Kan, today will be the last time. If you dare to cause trouble for your sister again, I will expose the fact that the little queen of love songs went to Thailand to hire a little brat." "You!" Li Kan's face immediately turned bright red. "Do you want to try?" Li Kan's manager originally wanted to step in for Li Kan, but Li Kan quickly held her back. "Don't create unnecessary trouble. I'll just leave. After all, I've been by Tongning's side for a long time. My methods of dealing with people are indeed different." "This is just the tip of the iceberg. I know more than you can imagine," Long Jie replied coldly. "Let's go." Li Kan didn't want to admit defeat, but since Long Jie had something on her, she had no choice but to admit defeat. But would Long Jie let her go so easily? He's leaving just like that? An apology and medical expenses. Also, don't forget that you stole your sister's identity as the queen of love songs. So in the future, please have the self-awareness of being a thief. Don't be a double-standard dog and think that it's natural for you to steal things. Long Jie's words were harsh and did not leave any face for Li Kan. She hated people like Li Kan the most. After stealing someone else's belongings, they could still wantonly ridicule others. From the day Li Kan became the champion, no one had dared to speak to her like this. Long Jie was definitely the first. So, she lifted her head and glared at Long Jie angrily. Her eyes were obviously bloodshot. No, they weren't bloodshot, they were filled with anger. But who was Long Jie? Was Long Jie afraid of her? To put it bluntly, she was just a small singer. Even talking to her was an honor. Did he really think he had a place in the entertainment industry? For Superstar Media and Hai Rue, it was as easy as squashing an ant. In the end, Li Kan compromised. She said to her manager, "Pay up and apologize." Although the manager was frustrated, she had no choice but to do as she was told. As for Li Kan, She turned her back to Xinglan and said an insincere apology before she left with her manager. Trash. Long Jie watched as the two left before instructing Lin Xian. Go contact security and deal with the surveillance. Don't give that jerk an opportunity to take advantage of us. Okay, I'll leave Xinglan to you. After speaking, Lin Xian placed Xinglan in Long Jie's arms. She was going to clean up the surveillance before the two people arrived. Long Jie returned to the apartment with Xinglan. As soon as they entered the living room, Long Jie immediately examined Xinglan's injuries. It's okay. It may look scary, but it's actually just a small cut. Xinglan was so shocked by Long Jie's strength that she was speechless. This was the first time she had seen Li Kan being lectured to the point of being submissive. You're amazing. What do I look like? Long Jie laughed as she helped Xinglan bandage her wounds. You will see a lot of situations like this from now on. I don't think I'll end up like you. Xinglan smiled bitterly. You don't need to be afraid of that slut. You need to remember, as long as you are innocent, we can help you get back what belongs to you. You don't need to feel inferior and don't need to be afraid. Superstar media may not be good at other things, but when it comes to face slapping, we are unparalleled, Long Jie comforted. Were you the one that came up with ideas for me during the competition? After hearing this, Long Jie shook her head. Of course it wasn't me. There's someone even more amazing. Xinglan was shocked. Someone like Long Jie was already amazing, but the person behind her was even more amazing? You just need to focus on your competition. Superstar media will take care of everything else for you. Long Jie patted Xinglan on the shoulder with confidence. Long Jie patted Xinglan on the shoulder and gave her a boost of confidence. If you ever come across someone like Li Kan again, just give me a call. I refuse to believe that she would dare to come again. In that case, can I follow you? Xinglan felt that Long Jie was more capable of protecting her. Does Lin Xian not treat you well? Long Jie smiled. You can either follow Lin Xian or you can follow no one. Superstar media doesn't have bad artists, so we don't have bad managers either. After hearing this, Xinglan nodded her head. I will do my best during the competition. You should get some rest. I still have some things to do, so I'll be leaving first, Long Jie said before she picked up her bag and stood up. She was a straightforward person. This was something that had never changed. Before she got married, she was optimistic and carefree. But after getting married, she became more mature and mature, giving off the aura of a mature and trustworthy woman. A moment later, Lin Xian returned to the apartment. As soon as she saw that Xinglan had finished bandaging her wounds, she immediately ran over and apologized. I didn't protect you well today. I was the one that didn't notify you in time. If you hadn't seen what happened, this matter might have been over by now. I know you must think that I'm not as good as Long Jie, but I will do my best to help you in the competition. I hope you won't be disappointed in me. Actually, it was normal for Xinglan to think this way. As expected, Xinglan remained silent for a moment before she replied, I trust you. Afterwards, on the way home, Long Jie gave Tongning a simple report over the phone. Li Kan found out about Xinglan's participation in the competition. She'll definitely cause trouble in the future. It's hard to defend against her. What should we do? Who said that it's a bad thing for her to cause trouble? Tongning asked. Her every move is meant to harm her sister. All we need to do is help her record her debts. When the time comes, we will make her pay. I understand what you're trying to say, but you might need to comfort Lin Xian a little. After all, she hasn't been in the industry for a long time, and there are a lot of things that she doesn't know how to deal with. Go do what you need to do, Tongning replied. Tongning simply hoped that Xinglan would do well. After all, they were all people that were stepped on, so she wanted to see Xinglan personally slap everyone in the face. Chapter 834. After putting down her phone, Tongning continued to pick out clothes for her babies. However, not long after, she received a phone call from Lu Che. Madam, Quanzai wants to see you. Him? I don't have any friendship with him. He did it because of Lin Xian. The president said he must be here to ask you for help. If you don't want to see him, you don't have to. Tongning could sense the jealousy in Mo Ting's words, so she smiled. I'll go to the office. Although she didn't care much about Quanzai, when it came to Lin Xian, she still had to listen. After all, Lin Xian was now her business partner. But in this short period of time, she was well aware of Lin Xian's temper. She wasn't willing to yield to anyone and was extremely stubborn. So, it wasn't possible for Quanzai to win over an iceberg like her. Not long after, Tongning asked the two mothers to look after the children while she drove over to Hairue. Ever since the incident with Su Xian, she had retreated from the front of the stage to behind the scenes. As a result, not many people in the industry paid attention to her. Therefore, there was almost no resistance for her to go out now. Not long after, Tongning entered Hairue through Mo Ting's personal elevator. As soon as she stepped into the office, she saw the two men sitting awkwardly in the same room. Tongning let out a gentle laugh and comforted Mo Ting before she sat down on the sofa opposite Quanzai. Just this once, Mo Ting warned coldly beside Quanzai's ear. Speak. What do you want to talk to me about? Tongning asked calmly as she scanned the man up close. Quanzai appeared to be of mixed blood. His facial features were well-defined, and he had a hint of exotic charm. Most importantly, he was flirtatious, which could be seen from his lazy expression. A man like this, who was pursued by so many women, chose to chase after Lin Xian all over the world. Let's put it simply. My mother hurt Lin Xian. How can I get her back? Why are you looking for me? Compared to Quanzai's question, Tongning was more curious about Quanzai's thoughts. How do you know that I can handle it? Because you can see into people's hearts. Not everyone has the ability to do this. So, I came to look for you because I can only look for you. You should know that I'm not a kind person. All I do is trade. Tongning explained her attitude. Simply put, why should I help you? Moreover, you've caused me a lot of trouble and almost ruined my plan. I thought it wasn't destroyed. Quanzai humphed. You'll need me in the future. For example? For example, protecting Lin Xian. Tongning let out a gentle laugh and shook her head. Everything Lin Xian has done so far is to prove to the Quan family that she's not completely useless. As for you saying that your mother hurt her, so she's been avoiding you, I think it's because you haven't let her see your attitude. Otherwise, she would have given up everything to be with you. Trust me, Lin Xian isn't the type of person that's afraid of obstacles. What should I do? There's no point in forcing her or forcing yourself. You might as well be useful to her first. As for how, I'm sure you understand her needs better than I do. After speaking, that was all Tongning wanted to say. Otherwise, she might as well change her career and specialize in being a matchmaker. Quanzai did not say anything else as he nodded his head. He seemed to have understood something. Afterwards, he left Mo Ting's office without saying goodbye. Mo Ting scoffed, causing Tongning to laugh. Saving a life is better than building a 7th-floor pagoda. President Mo, you shouldn't be angry. I don't think he looks like he's about to die. His heart is about to die, Tongning replied as she patted Mo Ting's chest. From now on, one lesson will cost you $1 million. Yes, I should accept this money. Plus, I'll use the money I earned to buy a present for my husband, Tongning said as she wrapped her arms around Mo Ting's shoulders. Ting, you have no idea how lucky I am that we didn't get hurt or misunderstand each other. I'm also glad that you've always been on my side. Mo Ting allowed Tongning to hug him as if he was still angry. But at a place that Tongning couldn't see, his lips curved upwards. After returning home, Liken locked herself in her room and remained angry for a long time. She was angry because Long Jie had stabbed her in the heart time and time again. Long Jie said that she was the real thief and that she stole Xinglan's first place. She was afraid that people would find out about this, and she hated it when people found out. Liken, come out and have something to eat? Her manager called from outside the door. A moment later, Liken opened the door to her room and looked at her manager. Go and contact the judges of the talent show. See if you can do some PR and get that bitch eliminated. After hearing this, the manager remained silent for a few seconds. She then lifted her head and looked at Li Can. Don't do anything rash. Hairue is involved this time. In that case, stop that bitch from participating. Lincoln said coldly. I can't let her make a comeback. Otherwise, no one will have a good time in the future. It's almost time for the top 100. Get ready and think of a way to stop Li Xin from participating. Actually, this wasn't a difficult task. After all, when Xinglan was a teacher, she had built a strong bond with the students. As long as she used a few tricks and manipulated the students, it would be easy to stop Xinglan. Don't worry, I'll handle it. Do it well, and don't let anyone find out. The manager nodded and instructed Xinglan to hurry up and eat. If your plan doesn't work, I'll have no choice but to ask my parents to step in. I refuse to believe that the bitch can find outside help every time. From the looks of it, she was destined to be in danger. As the match neared, Xinglan began to panic. She knew that Liken wasn't going to let her off so easily. Luckily, she knew that she had to find outside help. So, she told Lin Qian, I'm afraid that Liken will do everything she can to stop me from participating in the competition. Or, she might even bribe the judges to stop me from advancing. According to her current status, she has the ability to do that, right? Lin Qian understood Xinglan's worries. She had already made a lot of assumptions, but it was impossible to guard against something like this. So, Lin Qian had no choice but to give Tongning a phone call. Ning Jie, you want to ask me what I can do to stop Xinglan from participating in the competition, right? Tongning seemed to know what was going on. Yes, Xinglan isn't in the right state of mind at the moment. Give the phone to Xinglan, Tongning said. Lin Qian was a little surprised as she handed the phone to Xinglan. Xinglan was quite confused, especially since she had no idea who was on the other end of the phone. But with just a few words, Tongning successfully comforted Xinglan and made her relax. Liken has contacted one of your students to pretend that something has happened to you. When the time comes, you will pretend to be in a hurry to rush back to school. Along the way, someone will cover for you and allow you to return to the competition. Tongning's assistant was Li Kan's manager. How could she not know about a small matter like this? I understand. But who are you? Chapter 835. If you enter the top 100, I'll let you see me, Tongning said with a smile. Her words were calm and soothing. Just like this, Xinglan was successfully calmed down. However, the omnipotent person behind her made her feel no less dangerous than Liken. Seeing that Xinglan had calmed down, Lin Qian leaned against her and smiled. Are you relieved now? I'm curious why you chose me, Xinglan asked as she leaned against Lin Qian. Xinglan tilted her head and asked Lin Qian, I'm a good seedling. I don't have any background, and it's troublesome. Why me? Superstar Media's main goal is to find talented artists like you. People that have never had a good career, Lin Qian winked. Lin Qian winked at her. So, in the future, there will be more people joining our team. After hearing this, Xinglan was in disbelief. How could a company like this exist in the entertainment industry, and how lucky she was to come across one? Don't overthink it. Focus on the competition. Xinglan nodded her head. She was even more curious about the person behind the scenes. But there was no rush. She would meet them soon. In reality, the journey competition was extremely popular in Beijing. After all, it was a competition that only took place once every few years. The streets, television, newspapers, and the internet were filled with news of the competition. However, Xinglan was told to keep a low profile by Tongning, so she had not officially entered the competition yet. As usual, Lin Qian accompanied Xinglan to the competition venue for the top 300 competition. But just before the competition started, Xinglan spotted the beautiful girl from last time, Nana. Look, you made a bet with me that this girl would be eliminated. But today, she's already been eliminated. You simply didn't watch the replay, Lin Qian said as she raised an eyebrow. Plus, during the competition, she was scolded by the judges. Really? Xinglan turned around and looked at the girl in surprise. So, what if I'm pretty? The competition is about to start. Xinglan held on her phone nervously. She knew that Liken had set a trap for her to jump into. Lin Qian could tell that Xinglan was nervous, so she quickly comforted, "It's fine." As expected, a few minutes later, Xinglan's phone began to vibrate. After looking at the caller ID, she immediately said to Lin Qian, "I'll go pick it up. Hurry back." Xinglan nodded her head before she left the hall and walked into the hallway to answer the phone. Then, without saying goodbye to Lin Qian, she rushed out of the building's glass door. Li Ken was not far away and had personally seen her leave. "My sister, you're really too naive." Li Ken's lips curled into a cold smile. After that, she put on her sunglasses and left. Xinglan hailed a random taxi. But, not long after they set off, they collided with another car. The two drivers negotiated and drove the car to one side. As for what happened afterwards, no one knew. Lin Qian knew what Xinglan was doing. But there were only a few minutes left until the match began. If Xinglan didn't return soon, she would still be disqualified. Luckily, not long after, Xinglan entered from the back and sat down beside Lin Qian. Lin Qian tilted her head and leaned against Xinglan's shoulder. Li Ken was outside just now. Xinglan returned in a new set of clothes. So, someone had gone to greet Li Ken's manager on her behalf. "I know," Xinglan replied. "I'm going to let Li Ken know that her singing is rubbish. Go on stage. Do your best." This time, Tongning did not give any instructions. She wanted Xinglan to make her own judgment on how to achieve the most stable result. The final 100 contestants were split into groups of 3. One person would advance, and the other 2 would be eliminated. Compared to the previous 300 contestants, apart from their abilities, their foundations were definitely more solid. So, the tactics that she had planned to use before were no longer useful. But Xinglan didn't have much of a choice. This time, the judges were the ones setting the questions, so every contestant was extremely nervous as they went on stage. Soon, it was Xinglan's turn to go on stage. As the stage became brighter and more serious, Xinglan could sense that the judges were becoming stricter with the contestants. Number 115, before we start, tell us why you're participating in this competition. The 4 judges did not smile. It seemed they didn't like to listen to flattery, right? Xinglan bowed to the judges and held onto the microphone. "It's because someone stole my dreams and took away my life. I want to take back what belongs to me." "I thought you would say that you've won a lot of awards for singing since you were young." The judges were interested in Xinglan's unusual answer. "You must be a contestant with a story. In that case, let's start your performance. I'm sure that you will tell us about your experiences in the following competitions." Xinglan once again bowed to the judges. Soon, the stage went dark and the spotlight shone on Xinglan. Xinglan focused on the prelude of the song as her lips curved upwards into a smile. "Have you guys heard?" Originally, the top 100 contestants were supposed to be announced in 3 days. But a contestant improvised the style of her song, so the judges treated it as an advancement. Is that even possible? I thought that the song that was announced would have to be compared to the original singer. Who do you think you are? How many contestants can actually surpass the original singer? The 2 contestants that had just come out of the competition chatted as they walked. As soon as they saw a rustic person come out of the bathroom, they continued to gossip. "Hey, do you think that person is also here to compete? He's so rustic and effeminate. Ha ha ha, he's so ugly, yet he managed to last until now. Perhaps he's going to use his knife later on." Just as the 2 of them were laughing happily, Lin Qian suddenly appeared in front of them from behind, blocking the entrance of the bathroom. She said to the 2 of them, "The person you were laughing at is the only one out of the 300 people who was directly announced to advance to the next round. I've been following you all the way, you 2 gossips." The 2 girls were obviously shocked as their faces turned red. Lin Qian scoffed before she crossed her arms and left. Lin Qian did not expect Xinglan to enter the top 100 in such a high-profile manner. But now that she thought about it, it didn't really matter. It was time. After all, news about Xinglan was going to be everywhere, and superstar media was going to be discovered. So, it was time for both Xinglan and superstar media to make a public appearance. As soon as Li Ken returned home, She popped open a bottle of champagne to celebrate. But, to her surprise, she was greeted with the news that Xinglan had directly advanced into the top 100. That slut! How is this possible? Li Qin was in disbelief as she immediately opened up the internet to have a look. But news about Xinglan had already spread online. Chapter 836. His appearance was ordinary, and his clothes were ordinary, but he had a solid foundation, and he had the talent to create. Xinglan's competition video was edited by netizens and posted online. But the reason why she became famous wasn't because of her improvisation, but because she was the only person that was directly announced to have advanced to the next round. This average-looking contestant is actually quite talented. I want to look at her previous competition videos. Previously, she had a solid foundation, but this time, she suddenly exploded. This girl is quite handsome. Has she signed with a management agency yet? As a lot of people were paying attention to the competition, Xinglan became a little famous. In reality, if Tongning had not changed her name or appearance, it would have only taken a few minutes for Xinglan to be recognized as Li Xian. But it would take some time to find out more about her background. That night, Lin Qian decided to celebrate with Xinglan. I promised you that after you enter the top 100, I'll take you to meet someone. In reality, Xinglan wasn't even this nervous during her competition. But at this moment, she was actually sweating. What? Are you scared? On the way to the hotel, Lin Qian smiled. I can give you a few keywords, and you can guess who it is. I don't want you to be shocked when you see her. Hurry and tell me. Model, actress, married. Your hint is as good as no. Xinglan rolled her eyes. Lin Qian laughed and did not say another word. Soon, the two arrived at the hotel. At this time, Tongning also arrived. Xinglan was standing behind Tongning. As soon as she saw her, she whispered to Lin Qian, "Is that Tongning? Is she the actress that retired because of a murder?" What? Lin Qian asked. You don't like her? She's like a star that we can't even look up to. I like her attitude and way of doing things. Plus, every film she's in is great. She's married to such an outstanding man and is so hardworking. Any normal person would like her, right? That's great news, Lin Qian replied. What's great news? Congratulations, she's your boss, Lin Qian said as she pushed open the door to the private room behind Tongning. Xinglan froze for a moment as she stood in the doorway in a daze. She thought she was still dreaming, especially when she saw Tongning's face. She couldn't believe it was real. Come in and have a seat, Tongning said. Xinglan found it hard to believe that such an elegant woman was her boss. Actually, this wasn't hard to imagine. After all, Long Jie had previously made an appearance. But it was understandable. After all, no one knew that Long Jie was still working for Tongning. You can also call me Ning Jie, Tongning said to Xinglan. Congratulations, you've entered the top 100. I really didn't expect. Xinglan looked at Tongning up close and realized she was 100 times more gentle and beautiful than she was on television. Are you going to continue being stunned like this? Now that you've entered the top 100, it means that Li Qin is going to do something even more ruthless to you. You need to be prepared. It's possible that it's about to happen. That matter. She was referring to Xinglan's theft. Xinglan's face immediately turned pale. What should I do? You simply need to endure it. Don't give up just because of a piece of news like this. Leave everything else to superstar media, Tongning replied. You have no other choice but to face it. Even if it's a thorn in your heart. Can you do it? No matter what, you can't break down. Xinglan looked at Tongning for quite some time. Oh God, this was her boss. With this thought, Xinglan's fear lessened by half. Although she didn't know what her chances of winning against Li Qin were, for Tongning, it was as easy as crushing an ant. I believe in you. After entering the top 100, the battle officially begins. Don't let your guard down. You can't afford to make any mistakes. At this time, Xinglan had no idea of the pressure Tongning was facing. All she knew was that Tongning had high hopes for her. So, she swore to herself that she would win first place, so she wouldn't waste the chance that Tongning had given her. The three chatted as they ate. They hit it off well. So, late into the night, Tongning received a phone call from President Mo Lin Qian. Take good care of Xing Lan. I'm going home first. There's someone waiting downstairs. Okay, Ning Jie. Lin Qian, there's someone waiting downstairs. Is it President Mo? Xing Lan asked curiously. Lin Qian glared at her. Who else did you think it was? President Mo has always been personally responsible for Ning Jie's safety. How loving. Just as Tongning expected, Li Can's plan was to expose Xing Lan's theft to the public. Not only did she have to tell her parents to cause trouble during Xing Lan's competition, but she also had to convince them to cause trouble. Afterwards, Li Can explained her plan to her manager. But when she thought about Long Jie's previous warning, she was a little afraid. Why don't you let that slut compete? She might not get a good result. If you offend Hai Rui like this, you won't have a good time. Even if you take a step back, even if your sister debuted, she wouldn't be as famous as you. No, you don't understand my sister. She's really talented. If we don't stop her, she will definitely win first place, just like she did 3 years ago. Li Can wasn't trying to scare her. Look at how she entered the top 100. Isn't the answer obvious? Between the two of us, either she dies or I die. I have no choice. The manager took a deep breath and nodded her head. Okay, we'll do as you say. But this will be the last time. If you don't succeed, you need to stop. Otherwise, you'll end up getting yourself into trouble sooner or later. Li Can nodded her head. She firmly believed that Xing Lan wouldn't be able to withstand the impact of this scandal. She was such a strong person, so if she told everyone that she was a thief, it would be the same as telling everyone that she was a thief. Li Can's viciousness was nowhere near this. To ensure the success of her plan, she even gave her parents a phone call. Dad, my sister is participating in a competition. If the media finds out that she's a thief, what would happen to our family's reputation? The two of you need to stop my sister. Otherwise, I'm going to be ruined as well. I've always had a lot of competitors. If they find out that my thief sister is stirring up trouble again, I'm going to be implicated. After hearing this, Father Li almost had a heart attack. This bastard. Is she trying to piss me off? I'm going to explain things to her. She has a very powerful manager right now. You need to be careful. Li Can reminded with good intentions. Don't worry, Canaire, I know what I'm doing. Chapter 837. They were both their daughters, and they were twins. Yet as parents, they were so biased towards the rich and the poor. What a shame, especially since Xing Lan had embarrassed them. As a result, the Li couple avoided their daughter like a plague. To be exact, they were monitoring her. Because, while they avoided her, they were afraid that she would do something even more embarrassing. So, no matter how Li Can treated her sister, the Li couple did not feel that it was wrong. In fact, they even felt that Li Can was considerate enough to take responsibility for Li Xian. The Li couple lived a comfortable life. But because they had a daughter who was a queen, they couldn't allow anyone to ruin their life. As soon as they heard from Li Can that Xing Lan was participating in the competition, the Li couple's hearts skipped a beat. Xing Lan had already told Lin Qian about her parents. Since Li Can had come knocking on their door, it was likely that her parents would arrive soon. After the top 100 is announced, there will be a change to the rules of the competition. When that time comes, we will have a meeting with the organizers. Lin Qian explained to Xing Lan as she looked at the notice. But Xing Lan seemed distracted. What's wrong? Ning Jie told me to endure the attacks from the public. I can do that, but I'm afraid of my parents. They are ruthless people. After all, they were related by blood and were different from strangers. Even if she didn't care, what would the public think of her? Clearly, this pair of parents had never fulfilled their responsibilities as parents. There's no point in being afraid. What's going to happen will happen. Ning Jie will help you deal with this. Don't worry. She's an expert, and she's already given me instructions. After speaking, Lin Qian handed her phone to Xing Lan. Look at the notice yourself. I won't read it to you. Although Xinglan wanted to believe in Tongning, she had faced the old couple for so many years. So, she refused to believe that anyone could deal with the two old geezers. Lin Xian understood that Xinglan was still worried. But she would only know when the time came. So, no matter what kind of trash Tongning was, she would be able to deal with it. Tongning had never been one to sit around and wait for death. So, when it came to dealing with Xinglan's parents, she liked to take the initiative. While the Li couple were thinking about how to cause trouble for Xinglan, Tongning sent someone to pick them up for dinner at a five-star hotel. Of course, Long Jie was the perfect person to handle this matter. "Miss Long, where are you going to pick us up?" Mother Li asked curiously. Long Jie did not explain. She simply took the two elders to a five-star hotel to eat, drink, and have fun. This was treatment the couple had never experienced before. That night, Mother Li received a $1 million check from Long Jie. "Your daughter told me to be filial to you. Kenner is really good to us." The old couple were extremely satisfied and kept praising Li Kan. But at this time, Long Jie couldn't help but pour cold water on them. "I'm sorry, Annie and Uncle, but everything you're enjoying today and this check was arranged by your eldest daughter, Xinglan Li Exine." The old couple was stunned. Xinglan is a filial person. She signed with a good agency and gave the money she received to you. She didn't ask for a single cent, Long Jie continued. She even mentioned to me that if she were to win first place, she would definitely buy a house overseas. She said that this was your biggest wish. "Auntie and Uncle, I know you have another daughter, Li Kan. She's currently the queen of love songs. But, forgive me for being straightforward, but what has she done for you over the years?" Xinglan has also mentioned to me the grudge between her and her sister. We've done some investigation and discovered that Li Kan framed Xinglan because she didn't want her sister to win first place. You may think that I'm trying to drive a wedge between you and her sister, but I hope you can tell me the truth. Xinglan has already told me that if you need anything, you can contact me. She said that her parents are only temporarily blinded by her, but they aren't actually evil. Plus, if Xinglan wins first place, she won't just be the queen of a small agency. She'll even be able to sign with a top agency. Can Li Kan do this? I know the two of you have spent your savings to buy a house for Li Kan because you want to live with her. But if you don't believe me, you can try it yourself. Let's see if Li Kan finds an excuse to reject you. I'm sure you can make your own decisions. If you need anything, give me a call. I'll leave you here for now." After speaking, Long Jie boarded the car and left the Li family's home. The old couple looked at the check in their hands with mixed feelings, especially Mother Li, who immediately pulled out her phone and gave Li Kan a phone call. Can, Mom, what's wrong?" Li Kan thought that Mother Li had already gone to look for Xinglan and was waiting for good news. "I wanted to ask if the house that I bought for you has been renovated. Mom and Dad are planning to stay there for a few days." "Mom, it's like this. The house is still being renovated. It's already been half a year. Hasn't it been renovated yet?" Mother Li asked. "Small villas take a long time to renovate," Li Kan replied. "Besides, aren't you and Dad doing fine at home? If you guys want to have fun, I'll check my schedule first and see when I'll be free." "No need." Mother Li hung up the phone angrily. Xinglan gave them $1 million as soon as they signed a contract, yet they couldn't even stay at Li Kan's place for a few days. They could only blame themselves for being blind in the past. "Hubby, I can tell that Exine is really filial. This $1 million is more than enough for us to buy another house as a down payment. Plus, the company she signed with seems to be quite rich. Didn't Kanair say that the company owes her a lot of money?" Father Li sneered. "We've doted on that ingrate for nothing. I bet she's deliberately not telling us how much money she's earned. What should we do now?" From the looks of it, Kanair is trying to stop her sister from participating in the competition and is using us as cannon fodder. In that case, we'll just let Miss Long clarify what happened 3 years ago and let Exine be the champion. She's more filial and more successful than her. Okay, it's decided then. Just like that, the old couple changed sides. After all, Long Jie had given them plenty of benefits. So, it was easy to get rid of the greedy couple. Afterwards, Lin Qian received a message from Long Jie. The problem has been dealt with. Don't worry. These two will be able to help Xing Lan when the time comes. It can't be too perfect. Lin Qian showed Long Jie's message to Xing Lan. Don't worry. Your parents are on your side now. How did Ning Jie do it? Xing Lan was curious. Her parents were greedy and shameless. I have my own brilliant plan, Yi Zichen said. Chapter 838. Li Kan waited and waited, but she didn't receive any news from her parents. Because of this, she was extremely confused. So, she analyzed the situation with her manager. According to my parents' destructive power, they should be crying and trying to hang themselves by now. Why haven't they made a move yet? Why don't you contact them and ask? My mom gave me a call and asked if I could stay for a few days, but I brushed her off. You need your parents right now. Can't you just go along with them? Her manager was shocked. Is your brain made of iron? I know that's how it should be, but it's embarrassing for two country bumpkins to be photographed living with me. Li Kan replied. Forget it, I'll give them a call and ask. After speaking, Li Kan pulled out her phone. But this time, she called Father Li. Dad, how's the matter with my sister? Your mother and I are trying to think of a way, Father Li said perfunctorily. We are just two ordinary people. It's not easy to get close to Li Xian. Dad, don't blame me for being heartless towards my sister. If news of her matters were to spread, our entire family would suffer. Li Kan purposely used Father Li's pride to confuse him. Your mother, and I know. After that, Li Du's father hung up the phone. He was so angry that he almost smashed his phone. This evil creature only knows how to ask me when I'm going to deal with her sister. She's really heartless. Old man, what do we do now? Mother Li asked. Call Miss Long right now. No matter how fatherly looked at Li Kan, he didn't like him at all. The once promising child had suddenly become a scheming, vicious, and despicable scum who framed his family. So, Father Li immediately gave Long Jie a phone call to ask what they should do next. Long Jie knew that the two of them had taken the bait, so she remained calm and continued to deepen the Li family's misunderstanding towards Li Kan. Uncle, just you wait. The person that's going to embarrass you is actually Li Kan. In order to deal with her sister and prevent her sister from winning, she will definitely reveal this matter. If you don't believe me, just you wait. How dare she? So, Uncle, if she does this, pretend to help her. That way, we can clear Xinglan's name. She is someone that wants to win first prize, so she can't have a stain on her record. After receiving Long Jie's guidance, Father Li nodded his head. If Li Kan dared to make a move, he would disown this daughter of his and help Li Xian instead. As expected, Li Kan was someone who couldn't control himself. After the top 100 was announced, the couple still did not make a move. Because of this, Tongning decided to follow the old couple. But she discovered that they had indeed gone to cause trouble for Xing Lan again. Unfortunately, Xing Lan had a powerful manager and hired bodyguards, so they couldn't see her at all. In reality, this was all part of Long Jie's plan. It was to make Li Kan take the bait. At night, Li Kan called her parents again. Dad, Mom, since you guys don't have any ideas, I can only rely on me. What do you want? I can only rely on my connections to tell the organizers that Big Sister is a thief and let them deal with it internally. They just need to remove Big Sister from the competition. That way, we won't be implicated. Actually, no one recognized your sister, but it's only a matter of time before I'm recognized. Li Kan said anxiously, Mom, Dad, I can't talk to you anymore. I'm going to carry out my plan. Beast. This time, Father Li finally saw through Li Kan's true colors. She simply didn't want Li Xian to be more successful than her. Old man, since Miss Long has already made arrangements, let's do as she says. Okay. The old couple came to an agreement. We're going to get our house back. I'd rather give it to a dog than a shameless piece of trash. So, forming a united front wasn't going to be an easy task. Li Kan planned to announce this matter before Xing Lan advanced to the top 100 and make sure she died a horrible death. Unfortunately, everyone stood on Xing Lan's side. So, there was going to be a good show to watch. Are you really planning to do this? Li Kan's manager was still worried. She had a feeling that things wouldn't go so smoothly. When the time comes, all I need to do is clear my name and I won't be implicated, Li Kan humphed. Do they want to be first place? Do they not know who I am? After the top 100 was announced, Xing Lan and the other contestants gathered together to announce the new format of the competition. Next up was the round of 64 out of 100. There was a revival round, a popularity contest, and the support of the audience. This was the real battlefield. Xing Lan suddenly felt a sense of pressure. You don't need to be nervous. At least, after this matter is over, you won't have any external obstacles and can fully focus on the competition. Are you sure? Is Li Kan going to do this? Why wouldn't she? Lin Qian asked. This is her only chance to defeat you. She's going to be pitiful. With Tongning's arrangements in place, Xing Lan was confident that she would be able to clear her name. All she had to do was endure the attacks from the beginning. But once her innocence was proven, she would receive a lot of sympathy for all the suffering that she had suffered in the past. It didn't take long before Long Jie received word from her sources, so she gave Tongning a phone call. Tongning hadn't seen a good show in a long time, so she was feeling bored. But since Li Kan insisted on putting on a show, there was nothing she could do to stop her. Prepare to fight back. Most importantly, Xing Lan's parents. Don't worry, everything is under control. That's good. There's also good news from Luo Sheng's side. The director has accepted him as a disciple, and he's seen a lot of things. He can now negotiate on his own. Tell Luo Sheng that, regardless of success or failure, Superstar Media will always have his back, Tongning instructed. By the way, you must help him fight for an award at next year's Fei Tian Awards. Okay. Lastly, after Li Kan's incident, it's time for Superstar Media to face the public. Her two babies had learned how to run. Although they weren't very agile, it was time for her to take back what belonged to her. This time, she wasn't going to give anyone the chance to defeat her like Su Xin had done to her in the past. This was a scene that Long Jie had been waiting for, especially when she thought about how her mother-in-law had visited her and asked for Lu Che's sperm to be tested in a test tube. She would never forget this humiliation. Only by improving herself could she earn the respect of others. By this time, Li Kan had already contacted the paparazzi and written up an exciting story. She even came up with her own title. An ex-thief returns to the stage. She changes her name to deceive people. In reality, she wanted to be simple and direct and say that Xing Lan was a thief. But the paparazzi felt that it was better to leave Xing Lan some face and not force her to her death. Force her to her death. It turned out the paparazzi knew that news like this would cause someone to die. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.